Chapter 849. The handsome youth retracted his wings, his blood-red eyes and fangs gradually receded. He stared at Tan Xiu for a long while, but eventually didn't act rashly. He still spoke in fluent Mandarin. "We came to China to find someone, not to stir up trouble. We wouldn't have killed anyone in China if it wasn't for the people from your Special Abilities Bureau who attacked us first. Killing and sucking blood are the same." Duan Mulin coldly snorted. "If you blood kin want to suck blood, then don't do it to our Chinese citizens." The handsome youth angrily said, "We only sucked a small amount of blood. At most, it will only make them weak for a short time. It won't endanger their lives. Also, we only drank their blood after knocking them out, so we didn't expose our identities. Most importantly, those women all love money. We've sucked their blood and left them a sum of money in the hotel." "You left money?" Tan Xiu was surprised. "How much did you leave?" 10,000, said the handsome youth. 10,000 yuan is a lot. Tan Xiu nodded. "Let them buy some nutrition products to replenish the blood they lost." "I'm talking about pounds," said the handsome youth. "Those women are too stupid. They don't even recognize pounds and even called the police. It's really hateful." Cough, cough, Tan Xiu blushed with shame for those women. Having their blood sucked was worth 80,000 to 90,000 yuan, which was more than enough. If they really loved money, he believed that they would be satisfied after figuring it out. Tan Xiu. Ouyang Lulu ran from a distance and happily pulled Tan Xiu's arm. Her appearance caused everyone in the surroundings to be stunned, and even Duan Mulin was no exception. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and then looked at the handsome youth and asked, "I want to know, who is the person you came all the way to China to find?" "My sister, Shanjena," answered the handsome youth. "You're from Salzburg?" Tan Xiu was surprised. The handsome youth's expression slightly changed and asked in a deep voice, "How did you know?" "Who are you?" Tan Xiu smiled and waved his hand. He then looked at Duan Mulin and said, "Senior Duanmu, please hand them over to me. I guarantee that they won't cause any trouble in Huaxia, and the blood-sucking incident won't happen again. In at most a week, I will let them leave China." Duan Mulin frowned and said, "I'm at ease leaving it to you, but do you know them?" "As a matter of fact, there's a blood kin living in this Paradise Club. She's his sister, Shanjena," said Tan Xiu with a smile. Duan Mulin pondered for a moment and nodded. "If so, I'll leave it to you." Finished. Without the slightest hesitation, he quickly left with the ability users of the Special Abilities Bureau. After they left the Paradise Manor, a middle-aged man beside Duan Mulin asked angrily, "Chief, who is the boss of the Paradise Club? Why did you hand over those bloodlings to him? What if those vampires create chaos? How can we not take action?" A smile appeared on Duan Mulin's old face as he said, "You've just finished your seclusion cultivation, so you don't know much about the recent events. The most powerful force in our country is not our Special Abilities Bureau, but the Everlasting Feast Hall. Even I can't figure out how terrifying the power of the Everlasting Feast Hall is." "The Everlasting Feast Hall? Never heard of it before." The middle-aged man was confused. "The Everlasting Feast Hall has been too low-key in the past," said Duan Mulin. "I only learned about it in the last 2 years. Especially with the high-profile appearance of Tan Xiu recently, only then did I figure it out a bit. What I know about the Everlasting Feast Hall is just the tip of the iceberg, yet its power is thousands of times more than our Special Abilities Bureau." "Hiss," the middle-aged man gasped and said in horror, "How can the country allow such a terrifying force?" Duan Mulin raised his hand to interrupt him and shook his head with a wry smile. "The country? Let alone our country, even if all the countries in the world join forces, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to destroy the Everlasting Feast Hall. Remember, don't provoke those cultivators in the future. They won't meddle in worldly affairs, and will mind our own business." "Cultivators?" The middle-aged man's heart trembled a few times. He had seen powerful cultivators in the past, but he didn't expect that the Everlasting Feast Hall was actually composed of cultivators. So, that Tan Xiu, to be honest, I don't know about Tan Xiu's identity either, said Duanmu Lin helplessly. Although the cultivators of the Everlasting Feast Hall address him as boss, the terrifying existence who founded the Everlasting Feast Hall addresses him as master. Even several people older than him address him as Grand Master, said Tang Xiu. The middle-aged man was dumbfounded. The issue of seniority made him faintly tremble inside. Tan Xiu was still young, yet he already had a grand disciple. Most importantly, who was his master? Did he have any other elders in the sect? At the Paradise Manor, the 7 kindred from Salzburg were led by Tan Xiu to the Western-style building where Shanjena lived. As Ouyang Lulu brewed the fragrant tea, Tan Xiu asked, "Where's Shanjena?" "There was a fight here, so she should have found it. Professor Mo took a lot of her blood yesterday, so she got angry and ran out to complain to Han Jintong last night." Ouyang Lulu smiled. "I called her, but her phone was turned off." "What did you say?" Shansley's expression drastically changed. He abruptly got up and hurriedly shouted, "You dare to take my little sister's blood? Don't you know that it's extremely harmful to the kindred when their blood is taken?" Tan Xiu rolled his eyes and lightly said, "If Shanjena thinks it's harmful to her, I'm afraid she would have quit her job long ago and refused to cooperate with the research. Have a taste of this pill. If you think it tastes good, you can stay here for a week to accompany my researchers in their research." A pill? Shansley had received a call from his younger sister, Shanjena, and learned some things about pills from her. He looked at the crystal-clear pill in his hand that exuded a wisp of fragrance. After hesitating for a moment, he threw the pill to a kindred behind him and said in a deep voice, "Take it." "Understood." The young kindred didn't hesitate and directly swallowed the pill. A few seconds later, the kindred's expression greatly changed. His body suddenly trembled and his wings spread out in a flash. Even his eyes turned blood red and his fangs drilled out again. In a flash, Shansley and the other 5 kindred released their wings and vigilantly prepared for battle. "Stupid." Tan Xiu indifferently glanced at Shansley. He then crossed his legs and took out a cigarette, lit it up, and leisurely smoked it. Time fleeted by. 2 to 3 minutes later, an enormous aura erupted from the Blood Tribe member's body. Even the wings on his back had grown a lot, and the veins on his back had become clearer. The number of mysterious ancient runes had also increased. Shansley and the other Blood Tribe members instantly realized that this was a sign that his bloodline had been upgraded and his strength had become stronger. I've broken through to the Count rank?" The kindred cried out in surprise. Shansley gaped and struggled to turn his head to look at Tan Xiu. He finally understood what Tan Xiu meant when he said, "Stupid." Tang Xiu obviously gave him the pill, but he turned around and threw it to his man. If he had taken the pill, would he have broken through from the Count rank to the Marquis rank? Damn it! Shansley looked at his man with envy. He took a deep breath and retracted his wings, fangs, and blood-red eyes. He then let out a hollow laugh and said, Boss Tang, right? Do you still have that kind of pill?" Tan Xiu rolled his eyes and snappily said, "Do you really think elixirs are like cabbages that you can get as many as you want? Do you know how much resources I have to spend to refine one?" Shansley rubbed his hands and said with a vexed expression, "I was indeed in the wrong, Boss Tang. There's an old saying in China that a great man doesn't stoop to petty offenses. Can you sell me, yes, sell me some medicinal pills? I guarantee I can give you a big price." With a strange expression, Tan Xiu asked, "How much do you mean by a big price?" "I'll give you 100 million pounds for one of those pills," replied Shansley immediately with a heroic spirit after hearing it. Cough, cough, Tan Xiu, who had just inhaled a mouthful of smoke, directly choked upon hearing Shansley's offer. 100 million pounds for a pill. The cost of refining it was only a few million at most, yet it could be sold at such a sky-high price. However, he felt relieved after giving it a thought. Such a pill might be ordinary to him, but it was absolutely a treasure for these vampires who could enhance their bloodline. 200 million pounds. Take it or leave it. After figuring it out, Tan Xiu simply asked for an exorbitant price. Shansley hesitated for a moment and then firmly nodded. I'll buy it. How many do you have? 100, answered Tan Xiu. How many? Shansley shivered and looked at Tan Xiu in amazement. 100, repeated Tan Xiu. Shansley opened his mouth and immediately gritted his teeth. I'll buy all of them if your pills have the same effect as the one just now. But 20 billion pounds is not a small amount, and I'll need half a month to gather the money. Tan Xiu nodded casually on the surface, but he was secretly shocked inwardly. It must be noted that 20 billion pounds was nearly 200 billion renminbi. How could these vampires have such a huge amount of wealth? Even if they had accumulated a lot of wealth for hundreds and thousands of years, they shouldn't be so extravagant, right? Suddenly, Tan Xiu seemed to realize something and said, if you can't come up with so much cash, you can actually use things to pay for it. For example, emeralds, agates, gold, silver, and jewelry. Or precious ores or precious herbs. If you have high-level fierce beast corpses, you can also take them to exchange. Chapter 850. Shansley was pleasantly surprised after hearing it. It was not easy to get 20 billion pounds in a short time. Even if he sold the treasures he had accumulated for thousands of years in Salzburg, it would be very strenuous to pay this amount. But, if he paid with those jadeite, agate, gold, silver, and jewelry, he wouldn't have to think of ways to sell them. It would be great without the transit link. Furthermore, his family had been enduring for hundreds of years. Other families thought that they had been defeated, but that was not the case at all. It was just that they had been planning something for hundreds of years, and it was only recently that they had succeeded. Overlord. What his family had been planning was to gather the power of the whole family to cultivate a super powerhouse of the Overlord rank. After hundreds of years of preparation, Shansley's great-grandfather had become a powerhouse of the Overlord rank. This was also the reason why his family had been acting frequently recently to destroy many families who had been eyeing them covetously and seize their huge resources. Do you need antiques, Mr. Tang? My family has been passed down for more than 1,000 years and has collected a lot of antiques and curios. If I remember correctly, there's a saying in your country, collection in prosperous times, gold in troubled times. I'm sure you'll like it in a peaceful era, said Shansley confidently. Antiques and curios? Something of historical significance. What do I want those things for? Tan Xiu shook his head. Is it a waste of space to keep them at home? Just forget it. I'm only interested in money and wealth. I like jadeite, agate, gold, silver, and jewelry. But I'm also interested in rare and unique things like precious ores, medicinal herbs, and fierce beast corpses. As for the rest, just forget it. Shansley looked regretful and sighed. That's really a pity. I thought you were interested in antiques and curios. Our Salzburg has a lot of precious antiques, many of which come from your country. Even the imperial jade seal. Having said that, he shook his head helplessly. The imperial jade seal? Tan Xiu stared blankly and suddenly recalled the Qin Emperor's imperial jade seal, a great seal that symbolized power during the Qin dynasty. The endless power of faith condensed inside was like a vast ocean. Tan Xiu couldn't absorb the power of faith inside with his current cultivation. However, he knew very well that once his cultivation reached the critical point of ascending to the immortal world, he would be able to absorb the power of faith and turn it into his own power. That kind of power, after being illuminated by the immortal light and refining the body, would become an extremely powerful true immortal. Myriad Buddha Treasured Tome. It was the most profound cultivation technique of the Buddha dimension, and it was all-encompassing and mysterious. Tan Xiu had once obtained a copy of the 10,000 Buddha treasured canon. He had once killed a scum of the Buddha world and obtained it from him. In the 10,000 Buddha treasured tome, there was a method to absorb the power of faith for one's own use. Shansley, I want to know what's going on with the Imperial Jade Seal of Huaxia that you mentioned. Tan Xiu asked seriously. Shansley said casually, it's the seal of the ancient emperor of Huaxia. That's right, that piece of his jade. Tan Xiu's expression changed, and he immediately asked, tell me about the carvings on the heshabi. Shansley thought for a moment and then said, it has a circumference of 4 cun, the top button is crossed with 5 dragons, and the front side is engraved with 8 seal characters, receive the mandate of heaven, live forever and prosper. That's right, it's seal script. My great-grandfather once studied that type of script, and it seems to be the script of your country's earliest era. Tan Xiu's heart raced. He was sure that it was the real Imperial Jade Seal, but how did the Imperial Jade Seal of China end up in the hands of these vampires? Also, the Qin Emperor's Imperial Jewel Seal already had a huge amount of faith power, so what about the Imperial Jade Seal? During the Qin dynasty, Li Si ordered people to carve it out of heshabi. Since then, it had been passed down from generation to generation. It was still used even during the Qing dynasty. Moreover, it was still used as a token of imperial power bestowed by heaven, legitimate and legitimate. Would the power of faith be condensed in it? If there was, how big would it be? Thinking of this, Tan Xiu immediately asked, how did you get the Imperial Jade Seal of Huaxia? Shansley smilingly said, it was a YG man. Rumor has it that he paid a huge price and went through untold hardships to get it from China. As for how he got it, I don't know. What I do know is that my great-grandfather sucked the blood of that YG man and picked it out from his collection. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and slowly said, I may not like antiques, but that Imperial Jade Seal is indeed of great significance to my country. Now that I know its whereabouts, I must take it back. How about this? Let's value the Imperial Jade Seal at £5 billion, £5 billion. A quarter of the total amount? Shansley's eyes lit up. As though he was afraid that Tan Xiu would go back on his words, he said without hesitation, no problem. Then we'll pay $5 billion to offset the debt. Mr. Tang, Salzburg also has many other good things from China. Do you think? Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, I won't ask for anything else except the Imperial Jade Seal for the time being. However, if I leave China in the future and visit your Salzburg as a guest, I can take a look at it. If there's something I like, I'll naturally exchange it with medicinal pills. That's great. Shansley clenched his fists and fiercely waved them a few times in excitement. Dusk. Shanjena finally returned from Han Jintong's place. After she got out of the car listlessly, a surprised look appeared on her beautiful face. Her nose fiercely twitched a few times and she finally muttered to herself in disbelief, how could this be possible? There was a battle here before and there's the smell of blood left by the bloodkin. But how come there are other bloodkin here? Whoosh! A figure flickered and instantly appeared in front of Shanjena. With an indifferent expression, Mo said, Miss Shanjena, the boss wants to see you. Is Tan Xiu back? Asked Shanjena quickly. Yes. Answered Mo. Shanjena pointed to the place and asked, but what's going on here? I asked about the smell left by the bloodkin. Is your brother called Shansley? Asked Mo. How did you know? Exclaimed Shanjena. Your brother came to the Paradise Manor with 6 bloodkin today and had a fight with the people from the State Ability Users Bureau, said Mo. However, the fight was solved after our boss came here. Your brother, Shansley, is now with the boss. Where? Asked Shanjena hurriedly with an excited expression. In your residence, answered Mo. Whoosh, an afterimage flashed and Shanjena disappeared from her place. Inside the Western-style building, Shanjena and Shansley were reunited, so Tang Xiu didn't disturb them. After bidding farewell, he followed Ouyang Lulu to her residence. Before he could catch his breath, his mobile phone rang. Upon seeing that it was Miao went on calling, Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment before he picked it up. Where are you, Brother Tang? I want to see you now. Miao Wentang's urgent voice came from the phone. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, Brother Miao, I think it's better to forget it if you're still thinking about that matter. I do know 2 ways to solve it, but I don't dare to reveal the secrets of the heavens. Please forgive me. Brother Tang, please help my Miao family for the sake that we were born at the same time. Miao Wentang was almost begging. Tan Xiu rolled his eyes. Whether the Miao family would have a problem in the future or not, he was just talking nonsense. He did it to scare Miao Wentang and make him severely punish his nephew. But now, it seemed that he had really scared him. Come to the Paradise Manor. All right. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu forced a smile and went to Ouyang Lulu's big bed. He shook his head and forced a smile. Lulu, do you think it's wrong to scare a friend? It depends on the matter and the reason, said Ouyang Lulu with a charming smile. Tell me, dear, who did you scare? Miao Wentang, answered Tan Xiu. Pfft, Ouyang Lulu couldn't help laughing and smilingly said, don't you two have a good relationship? What did you scare him about? Listening to his tone when he called you just now, it seems that he's very scared. Tan Xiu roughly explained the whole story and finally said with a helpless expression, my main purpose was to make him clean up his nephew for me. Who would have thought that Miao Wentang would really believe my nonsense and want me to help his Miao family? He went to block the door early in the morning. I barely managed to get through it, and now he's looking for me again in the middle of the night. Ouyang Lulu was amused by Tan Xiu's words and charmingly laughed again and again. After a while, she stopped laughing and said, dear, you're really amazing. Even a big shot like Miao Wentang was fooled by you. In fact, this problem is very easy to solve. If Miao Wentang really asks for your help, just make up some nonsense or do something to fool him. That's exactly what I mean. Tan Xiu nodded. Half an hour later, Miao Wentang hurried to the Paradise Club with 2 of his men. When he saw Tan Xiu in the spacious dining room, he directly brought 2 beautifully packaged gift boxes and placed them in front of Tan Xiu, saying with a bitter expression, Brother Tang, these are the heirlooms of my Miao family. My ancestors had a hard time getting these 2 treasures. These 2 things are yours as long as you can help my Miao family overcome this crisis. Cough, cough, with a bit of embarrassment inside, Tan Xiu coughed a few times and said, please don't. These are the heirlooms of your Miao family. How can I take them? Brother Miao, Miao Wentang interrupted Tan Xiu and said with all seriousness, Brother Tang, if you don't take them, you'll be looking down on your brother Miao. I'm begging you. Can you accept them? Tan Xiu opened his mouth, but he swallowed back the words he was about to say. Miao Wentang seemed to be afraid that Tan Xiu wouldn't take a liking to the things he brought, as he quickly removed the packaging of the 2 gift boxes and took out the 2 scarlet jade dragon and jade tiger inside. This is Chapter 851. The 2 jade carvings were crimson in color, as if there were raging flames burning inside them. They were vivid and lifelike, as if they were 2 living creatures. There was an almost undetectable gray mark on the heads of the 2 jade carvings. Fortunately, Tan Xiu had sharp eyes and was able to see it. If it was an ordinary person, they would not have been able to see it with their naked eyes. Miao Wentang was afraid that Tan Xiu would not be able to recognize it, so he hurriedly explained, Brother Tang, these 2 jade carvings are the most precious treasures of our Miao family that have been passed down from generation to generation. It is said that there are a total of 12 of these jade carvings, and the carvings are carved according to the 12 zodiac signs. Although our Miao family can't understand the mysteries of these jade carvings, according to the historical records of our family, whoever can collect the complete set of the 12 zodiac signs will be able to unlock the secret within and obtain great benefits. Tan Xiu's expression was extremely solemn. His eyes lingered on the jade dragon and tiger for a long time before he carefully held them in his hands. Energy. The surging energy was the most powerful item that Tan Xiu had ever encountered on Earth. If the Qin Emperor's imperial jade seal contained a tremendous amount of faith power, then each of these jade carvings contained the energy of countless stars. If anyone could detonate a jade carving, Tan Xiu could determine that even 100 Earths would be blown to pieces, let alone this one. Tan Xiu carefully integrated a trace of primal chaos force into the jade dragon. It was like a fish swimming in water, and it did not encounter the slightest rejection. However, when the primal chaos force came into contact with the gray mark on the head of the jade dragon, his body suddenly trembled, and his entire consciousness was sucked into the jade dragon. No, to be precise, he was sucked into the gray mark. The sea of stars, the vast universe. Tan Xiu suddenly discovered that he was standing in the boundless universe with countless planets orbiting in all directions. Golden lines connected the countless planets together, forming a three-dimensional star chart that contained endless mysteries. Those golden lines, Tan Xiu's lips trembled, and his eyes were filled with a fiery light. If it was any other cultivator on Earth, they would definitely not be able to recognize what those golden lines were. But he could, because he had used those golden lines before, and he could use them as if they were his own arms. That was, the trajectory of the heavenly Tao. The trajectory of the heavenly path in Earth's space. Who is it? Who possessed such a terrifying ability to forcefully imprint the trajectory of the heavenly Tao of this world into this jade sculpture? I can't do it. I was once a paragon in the immortal world, and I possessed the power to destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. But I can't do it. Unless it's a god who has broken through the shackles of the immortal world and broken through to a higher plane of existence, only then can it be done, right? Could it be that there was once a real god on earth? If a god was not born and bred in this world, it would be impossible for him to imprint the path of the heavenly Tao of this world into the jade sculpture. Because no matter how terrifying the true gods from the outside world are, they can only destroy this land and cannot control the rules of this land. Breaking is easy, but controlling is hard. Suddenly, the pain in Tang Xiu's mind was like being pricked by needles, causing his consciousness to instantly withdraw from the cosmic space. At this moment, not only did he spurt out a mouthful of blood, but his eyes, ears, and nostrils were also bleeding. Brother Tang. Miao Wentong looked horrified and hurriedly called out. Tan Xiu sniffed his mind and shook his head. I'm fine. It's just a backlash. Brother Miao, these two jade sculptures are really precious, so precious that it's very difficult to control them even if one cultivates for thousands of years. I won't hide it from you. Even an immortal who has ascended to the immortal world, or even a real perfected golden immortal, can't fully control them. Unless what? Asked Miao Wentong hurriedly. Unless one becomes a paragon in the immortal world, replied Tan Xiu. Only then can one barely control them. If my guess is correct, once we find the other 10 jade sculptures and gather a total of 12 sets, we can help a paragon in the immortal world smoothly cross the heavenly tribulation, break the shackles of the immortal world, and ascend to the god's realm. Hiss, Miao Wentong gasped. Immortals were already very far away from him, let alone the paragon at the peak of the immortal world, as well as the unreachable god's realm. Brother Tang, do the immortal world and the god's realm really exist? Asked Miao Wentong cautiously. Tan Xiu shot him a deep look and solemnly nodded. I don't want to hide it from you anymore. Apart from the space where our Earth is, there are indeed higher levels of space, such as the immortal world, Buddha realm, demon realm, ghost realm, spirit realm, and many others. Above these worlds is the god's realm, where demons, devils, ghosts, monsters, immortals, Buddhas, saints, and many other races exist at the same time. Let me put it this way. If our Earth's space is like a grain of sand, then the immortal world is the area of the Milky Way, and the god's realm is the area of the vast universe. Miao Wentong's body trembled and his breathing was rapid as he asked, Brother Tang, can you tell me how you know this? It's not convenient for me to tell you for the time being. Tan Xiu shook his head. But give me some time. I'll naturally tell you everything when I shatter the void and ascend to the immortal world one day. Shatter the void? Ascend to the immortal world? Miao Wentong's whole body froze as though he was struck by lightning. Tan Xiu looked at the 2 jade carvings with infatuation. After a long time, he slowly said, "How about we make a deal, brother Miao?" "What deal?" asked Miao Wentong. "Give me these 2 jade carvings and I'll give you a real immortal cultivation technique," said Tan Xiu. "You can definitely see the hope of ascending to the immortal world if you cultivate well in the future. How about this? I assure you that I'll protect you until you become a late-stage golden core expert." Late-stage golden core. Legendary existences. Miao Wentong almost shouted in agreement, but he recalled the purpose of meeting Tan Xiu this time and immediately said, "Brother Tang, about the catastrophe that will befall my Miao family in a few years, I'll help solve it together," said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. "Deal," said Miao Wentong excitedly. He had just weighed the pros and cons inwardly and figured out some things. These 2 jade carvings were obviously of great help to Tan Xiu, but they were of no use to him and the Miao family. Instead of keeping them in the family and passing them down from generation to generation without any other use, it was better to make a deal with Tan Xiu and exchange them for a great immortal opportunity. 2 hours later, Tan Xiu imparted a cultivation technique from the immortal world to Miao Wentong. He looked at his pleasantly surprised face and seriously said, "You already have the foundation of cultivation. If you practice this immortal cultivation technique, you can take your cultivation a step further in a short time. However, haste makes waste. You must cultivate diligently in the future, and I'll provide you with a steady stream of cultivation resources. As long as you work hard, I can guarantee that you'll become a late-stage golden core expert in 10 years. 10 years? Late-stage golden core. Miao Wentong was so excited that he nearly cried. Such a great opportunity was something he never dared to imagine before. Even though he had learned an immortal cultivation technique at this moment, he still felt like he was dreaming. My Miao family, Miao Wentong recalled the purpose of his visit this time. There are 2 ways. First, the Miao family will not have any new members for 3 years, said Tan Xiu. Then, each of them will have 1 hand and 1 foot cut off. Only then can the Miao family's extermination disaster be averted. Miao Wentong's expression greatly changed and he hurriedly asked, "What about the second one?" "Fate comes and goes, all because of 1 person, said Tan Xiu. "Shave off his black hair and remove him from the Miao family's genealogy book. Drive him out of the Miao family and out of China. As long as he never sets foot in China for the rest of his life, the Miao family's safety can be guaranteed." Miao Jinlei. Miao Wentong's mind moved and he immediately chose the second option. Had it been before, even if Miao Wentong believed in Tan Xiu, he could only believe 99% of it and still didn't dare to believe it. But ever since Tan Xiu taught him an immortal cultivation technique, he truly realized how terrifying Tan Xiu's means were. "Brother Tang, I know what to do," said Miao Wentong solemnly. Tan Xiu nodded. He took out a bottle of pills and handed it to Miao Wentong, saying, "There are 10 essence amassing pills inside. Take 1 every half a month. After you've taken all of them, your cultivation should be able to break through to the late stage of foundation establishment. 5 months later, go to Jingmen Island's Everlasting Feast Hall to find Ji Qi Mei. She'll give you the pills you need later." "All right. Thank you, Brother Tang." Miao Wentong took the bottle excitedly and thanked him from the bottom of his heart. Tan Xiu shook his head and sighed inwardly. As a matter of fact, he had taken advantage of Miao Wentong, and it was a huge advantage. However, he could only help him this much for the time being. He would help him if he had any difficulties in the future. The night was hazy. In the parking lot of the Paradise Club, Tan Xiu dropped Miao Wentong off and asked the question he wanted to know the most, "Brother Miao, does your Miao family only have the dragon and tiger jade carvings of the 12 zodiac jade carvings? Where can I find the other jade carvings if I want them?" "My Miao family really only has these 2, said Miao Wentong. "But if you really want them, I can help you look for them in secret." "I'll immediately tell you once I get the news," said Miao Wentong. Tan Xiu thought for a moment before he shook his head and said, "You don't need to look for them in secret. You can look for them openly. As long as the rest of the jade carvings are still in China, I believe you'll be able to find them soon. Let's do it this way. I'll post a reward for anyone who has the jade carvings. I'll pay $100 million to buy them. Even those who know the whereabouts of the jade carvings will be given $10 million as long as they provide accurate information. Miao Wentong forced a wry smile and said, Brother Tang, aren't you playing a bit too big? Miao Wentong forced a wry smile and said, I'm afraid it will set off a storm in China if you publicize it. As long as I can find more jade carvings, it'll be worth it even if I only find one, said Tan Xiu. Chapter 852. After sending Miao Wentong away, Tan Xiu immediately went to see Moe and Gui Jianqiu. From them, he learned that the active cells in the bloodkin's blood had been successfully extracted and were now being fused with Chinese medicinal herbs in an attempt to develop medicines that were beneficial to humans. Therefore, Tan Xiu sent someone to get an interspatial ring from Ji Qi Mei and lent it to Moe for temporary use. For this reason, Shanzli and his 6 men ruthlessly bled and stored all the blood in jade bottles in the vacuum interspatial ring. 3 days later, Shanzhena left China with her brother, Shanzli, and promised to deliver the imperial jade seal and a large number of resources that Tan Xiu needed to China within a week. After the goods were delivered, the total value was determined and deducted from the remaining 15 billion pounds. Finally, Tan Xiu's life resumed its tranquility. In the following days, Tan Xiu occasionally went out or met up with friends, while the rest of the time he stayed at home and read books. As the days passed by, there were only 2 days left before the final exam of his freshman year. The scorching sun was blazing in the sky. Blue Star Villa Complex. Tan Xiu was quietly reading a book, but he was thinking about something in his mind. The most important thing for him to do next was to go to Longquan Bay in Kanas to open the Immortal Trove. Afterward, he also had to rush to 9 Dragons Island. The reconstruction project there had reached the most critical juncture. 9 Dragons Island would become his base camp in the future, so the situation there must not go wrong. Ring, 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 his cell phone suddenly rang, interrupting Tan Xiu's thoughts. Tan Xiu glanced at the caller ID and immediately furrowed his brows, asking, What's up, oh? Chief Kong has come to Shanghai, boss. Kong Xia. Yes. Why didn't she tell me in advance that she's coming to Shanghai? Tan Xiu curiously asked. It's really strange. Anyways, where is she now? Our men just saw her at the Shanghai airport, said Moo. Tan Xiu agreed. After hanging up the phone, he directly dialed Kong Xia's cell phone number. Before he had time to speak, Kong Xia's voice came out of the phone, It's really not fun. I originally wanted to give you a surprise, but I didn't expect you to receive the news that I'm coming to Shanghai. Tan Xiu smiled and said, Why did you come to Shanghai? I missed you, said Kong Xia with a smile. It just so happens that I have some free time these few days, so I want to give myself a break. After thinking about it for a long time, I felt that it would be boring to go anywhere without you, so I came to Shanghai. By the way, let's go back to Star City together after your final exam. Go back to Star City with you? Tan Xiu was confused. What for? Kong Xia forced a smile and said, I say, Big Boss Tang, you're really forgetful. Originally, the new city's internal purchase was scheduled for June 1st. But because of the Long family's issue in Walled Hill Village, the project was affected and had been delayed until now. We've prepared a lot of funds this time, how can we do it without you? Tan Xiu suddenly understood and said with a dry smile, I would have really forgotten about it if you didn't remind me. Come here directly, I'm at Blue Star Villa Complex. Alright, wait for me. At noon, Kong Xia came with her suitcase. After seeing Tan Xiu, the excitement on her beautiful face was undisguised. After a big hug, she leaned on Tan Xiu's embrace and asked, We haven't seen each other for a long time, except for the phone call. Did you miss me? Yes. Replied Tan Xiu with a smile. Kang Xia pouted and snorted, "Humph, you missed me and didn't even say anything. I heard that you went to Qingqing Mountain a few days ago and stayed there for quite a long time." "I went there for a very important matter," said Tan Xiu. "I know you have something, and it's a very important matter," said Kang Xia. "But seriously, why are you so busy? What else are you doing aside from our magnificent Tang Corporation and the everlasting feast hall?" Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, "I'm afraid there's only cultivation aside from these, no? You also know that for me, achievements are not about how much wealth I have in reality, nor is it about having a high status or power. What I pursue is power and a higher cultivation realm." "I know, so I'll tell you some good news." Kang Xia giggled and said, "This young lady has just broken through to the foundation establishment stage, so I can be regarded as a powerful expert in the future." You've broken through to the foundation establishment stage?" asked Tan Xiu in surprise. "You didn't expect it, did you?" Kang Xia said proudly. "Ha, my luck is simply off the charts. A friend who works abroad all year round came to China to visit me. As a result, during our gathering, she brought along a bracelet that was very good. After I saw it, I really liked it because I could feel a very rich spiritual energy flowing from the bracelet. Later on, my friend saw that I liked it very much, so she gave it to me. Here, take a look, it's this one." Tang Xiu's vision landed on Kang Xia's raised wrist. The bracelet of beads had a dim yellow luster and was composed of a total of 36 beads. To Tang Xiu's surprise, when his fingers touched the bracelet of beads, he could clearly feel the surging spiritual qi in the surroundings. It was like a swarm of bees rushing into his hand, while the spiritual qi was fed back from the bracelet of beads and then flowed into his body through his fingers. A magic tool. A magic tool engraved with a spiritual amassing restitution array. Tan Xiu never expected that he would see a magic tool engraved with a spiritual amassing restitution array on Earth. This kind of magic tool was very common in the immortal world and could be refined by any artificer. "I'm really stupid. I don't need to constantly absorb the world's spiritual qi to strengthen myself, but those cultivators I teach are all serious cultivators. If each of them wears a magic tool engraved with a spiritual amassing restitution array, their cultivation will definitely advance by leaps and bounds." Kang Xia, who didn't know what was in Tan Xiu's mind, smiled proudly and said, "How about it? This bracelet is good, isn't it? I've thought about it. I'll give it to you after I see you. It'll help you greatly improve your cultivation speed." Tan Xiu loosened Kang Xia's wrist and shook his head. "I don't need this bracelet. It won't help me much. To be honest, I can also refine this kind of magic tool. I'll refine a batch when I have some free time." "A magic tool? You can also refine it?" Kang Xia looked at Tan Xiu with a surprised and doubtful expression. Eventually, the proud expression in her heart turned into a loss. She specifically came to Shanghai this time mainly to present this treasure, but the result? Tan Xiu unexpectedly didn't need it. "That's right. I can indeed refine it." Tan Xiu nodded. "Although I don't need this bracelet, it reminds me that if each of the people I train has this kind of magic tool, it will greatly benefit their cultivation." "Thank you, Kang Xia." The loss in Kang Xia's heart eased a lot. She smiled and said, "You don't need to thank me. It's my greatest happiness to be able to help you." Words of love. It was always the best emotional seasoning. Even though Tan Xiu's heart was as hard as a stone, he still felt warm inside. He picked up Kang Xia's suitcase and hugged her with his other hand, saying with a smile, "Let's go. Go upstairs and have a good rest. I'll accompany you for dinner later." Today, big news was destined to sweep across the entire land of China like a tornado. TV stations, newspapers, magazines, the internet, and communication media, all focused on the topic, Grand Fortune Jewelry is looking for the 12 zodiac jade carvings. Anyone who has the zodiac jade carvings can contact the Grand Fortune Jewelry's general manager, Hao Lei. Once it is confirmed that it belongs to one of the 12 zodiac jade carvings, the Grand Fortune jewelry will buy it for $100 million US. $100 million US. This astronomical figure in the eyes of countless people was like a nuclear bomb that fell on the hearts of the citizens of China, setting off an uproar. Zheng Province, Liaoning County. Yang Pengchao was smoking a cigarette as he squatted in front of the dilapidated newsstand at the entrance of the county's key high school. His eyes kept glancing around as if he was looking for someone. Mengzi, have you inquired about it? Did Yuli really say that she'll be the girlfriend of whoever has the money? Yang Pengchao frowned and asked a thin young man named Mengzi next to him. I've inquired about it. Yuli said so, said Mengzi. Also, I heard that Campus Bellevue University has received a call from Wang Wei, the young master of the Dongda Steel Machinery Company in our county. They talked for a long time. Wang Wei. Yang Pengchao frowned. That guy who relies on his family's wealth and power to act like he's rich and powerful all day long. Didn't you beat him up last time? How come he still contacted Yuli? I beat him once, and he found someone to beat me 3 times, said Mengzi in a low voice. Big bro, you've been in Jing City for 2 years now, and those hoodlums in the county have long given up on us. I didn't tell you before because I was afraid of losing face. Yang Pengchao's face turned cold as he coldly snorted and said, Don't worry. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Since that Wang Wei dared to touch you, I'll deal with him sooner or later. Huh? Yuli just came out. Yang Pengchao extinguished his cigarette and strode toward the campus gate. A beautiful girl with a good figure came out from the inside with a handbag. Yang Pengchao blocked in front of her and said, Yuli, I want to talk to you. Upon seeing Yang Pengchao, Yuli's eyes flashed with excitement. But in the blink of an eye, the light faded away and she squeezed out a smile and said, When did you come back, Pengchao? I just came back today, said Yang Pengchao. I only came back for one purpose, and that is to ask you whether the recent rumors about you are true or not. The smile on Yuli's face instantly disappeared. The redness on her beautiful face quickly faded, replaced by a pale and silent expression. Her eyes were a bit flustered, but it didn't escape Yang Pengchao's eyes. Yang Pengchao took out a bank card and handed it over, saying, I know. I haven't earned much money in the past 2 years, but it's still much better than those students. There's 65,000 yuan in this card, which I've accumulated in the past 2 years. Yuli raised her head and looked at Yang Pengchao with disbelief. Chapter 853. The thin bank card stung Yuli's eyes and soft heart. Never in her wildest dreams did she expect that one day she would sell herself for money. Moreover, the person who wanted to buy her turned out to be the boy she grew up with and liked. Yuli bit her lips and fell silent for half a minute. Then she suddenly looked up and said in a deep voice, 300,000 yuan. I'll be your girlfriend if you give me 300,000 yuan in a week. I'm willing to marry you even if you want me to. Are you crazy? Yang Pengchao angrily shouted. Yuli let out a sad smile. She finally couldn't control the tears rolling down from her eyes. She sounded like she was about to cry, but she tried her best to restrain her emotions and said, I'm not crazy. I like money. I like the sense of satisfaction money brings me. 300,000 yuan. If you can come up with 300,000 yuan, I'll do anything. But if you don't have enough money, you can stay far away from me and never see me again. Yang Pengchao's heart was also trembling. He also liked Yuli, but he always put away his inferiority complex due to his poor family conditions. No matter how he mingled in the county, his family's problems were like a chain that made him feel depressed and uncomfortable. The end of his first year of high school. He gave up on continuing his studies and went to Jing City alone. He suffered a lot and suffered a lot. But he kept one thing in mind, that was to make money and wait for Yuli in Jing City. It was because Yuli said that she needed to rely on Jing City's university for the college entrance test, and he needed to have the ability and money to protect her while she was in university. However, it was 300,000 yuan. Even if he racked his brains to scrape together the money, he could only get a few 100,000 yuan at most, which was less than half of the 300,000 yuan. A trace of contempt could be seen in Yuli's eyes. Although she didn't want to look at Yang Pengchao with such eyes, she had to do it. She needed money. She needed money to save her life, and this life belonged to her mother, who she was dependent on. Hee. With a cold laugh, Yuli restrained herself from looking at Yang Pengchao again. She brushed past him and walked into the distance. Yang Pengchao opened his mouth many times. The words he wanted to say were just at the tip of his tongue, yet he couldn't spit them out. His lack of money was like a knife stabbing into his heart. However, he vaguely guessed some questions, such as why Yuli was so anxious to ask for 300,000 yuan. Mengzi, after this cigarette, I'm going back to the city. Keep an eye on Yuli for the next 7 days. If anyone dares to bully her, contact me immediately. Yes. Mengzi nodded heavily. The two of them returned to the dilapidated kiosk and sat down on the folding stool outside. As he puffed out the smoke, Yang Pengchao grabbed a newspaper and fanned it a few times. What a pity, Mengzi seemed to have thought of something and shook his head with a wry smile. In order to distract himself, Yang Pengchao asked, "What's the pity?" Mengzi said, "It's a pity that we don't have money. Alas. Let alone money, even if we have some treasures at home, we can immediately become billionaires. Big brother Pengchao, say, why didn't my family's ancestor leave a jade sculpture for us descendants?" Yang Pengchao frowned and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about." Mengzi rolled his eyes and grabbed the newspaper in Yang Pengchao's hand. He placed the headline on the front page in front of Yang Pengchao and said, "What did I say? Look at it yourself and you'll know." Yang Pengchao looked at it. In just a few seconds, his pupils suddenly shrunk and a look of ecstasy burst from his eyes. He didn't even greet Mengzi and dashed toward the direction where Yuli left. Yuli. A few minutes later, Yang Pengchao caught up with Yuli. Yuli's complexion was still a bit pale. She looked at Yang Pengchao who was blocking in front of her and said, "What else do you want to say?" Yang Pengchao seriously said, "You just need to answer my question sincerely. If I still can't give you 300,000 yuan after answering, I promise I won't pester you for the rest of my life. Ask away." Yuli took a deep breath and said. Yang Pengchao asked, "I want to know why are you so anxious to get 300,000 yuan?" Yuli said, "To treat my mom." Sure enough. Yang Pengchao had just thought about this reason. Now that he heard Yuli's answer, he excitedly hugged her and said with a trembling voice, "I know you're not the kind of woman who loves vanity. Come with me. We'll go to Shanghai and attend the temporary appraisal meeting held by the Grand Fortune Jewelry. I guarantee that I'll give you more than 300,000 yuan in a week. Even if you want 3 million, 30 million, or even 300 million yuan, I'll give it to you." "You're crazy." Yuli pushed Yang Pengchao away and shouted. Yang Pengchao put the newspaper in front of Yuli and said in a deep voice, "I don't know if you've seen the contents of this newspaper before, but I can tell you clearly that I have a jade carving. It's a jade monkey, one of the 12 zodiac carvings." Yuli's eyes widened. She looked at Yang Pengchao with disbelief and asked with a trembling voice, You really have a jade monkey?" "That's right," said Yang Pengchao solemnly. "This newspaper has the image of a jade dragon and a jade tiger. The whole body is red and the carvings are vivid and lifelike. My jade monkey is also red in color and the carvings are very exquisite. It's very similar to the jade dragon and tiger in the pattern. It's part of a set." Yuli's lips squirmed. After a long while, she spat out a sentence, "I'll go with you." Northeast Black Market. Chen Jianxi had been standing in front of the old man's door for 4 hours. Despite his strong physique, he still felt uncomfortable under the hot sun at noon. Scram! Scram far away. You want the jade ox? Wishful thinking. The old man's cursing voice came from the courtyard. I have no other choice, Dad. Chen Jianxi begged. Little Lin wants to marry a wife, your house and courtyard need to be repaired, and Yaya still needs to study. All of these need money. Do you have the heart to watch your grandson be a bachelor for the rest of his life? Do you have the heart to watch your granddaughter drop out of school and go home? Dad, that jade ox is just for show. It can't be eaten or drunk, so it's better to sell it to the Grand Fortune Jewelry. No sound came from the courtyard for a long time. Finally, as the courtyard door opened, a white-haired old man forcefully threw out a box wrapped in yellow cloth and smashed it on Chen Jianxi. He angrily scolded, "Take the thing and scram. Don't hang around in front of me in the future. I only have this old thing left. I didn't expect that it would be gone in my generation. What a sin." Chen Jianxi held the thing in his arms and knelt in front of the old man. After knocking his head a few times, he got up and turned to run away. The capital. In a residential building near the horse bridge outside the 6th Ring Road, Mo Xiaohan was playing with the jade chicken in her hand. There was a hesitant look on her pretty face. She was not short of money. As a senior white-collar worker in a foreign company in the capital, her income was very considerable. Coupled with the good conditions of her family, it was not a problem for her to live a well-off life. However, she was shocked by the sky-high price of $100 million. She never thought that she would have the opportunity to get the astronomical wealth of $100 million in this life. She never thought that the jade chicken left to her by her mother before she died would be so valuable. Ring, 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 the urgent ringing of the phone interrupted Mo Xiaohan's hesitation. When she grabbed the phone and saw the name displayed on the screen, the corner of her mouth suddenly twitched a few times. 10 seconds later, she pressed the answer button and said, "Manager Li, you. Why did you skip work today? When can you give me the proposal I want?" Outrageous. You're really going against the heavens. A middle-aged man's angry shout came from the phone. Mo Xiaohan quickly said with a smile, "Manager Li, I really have something to do today. I've only written half of the proposal. Can you give me 2 more days?" Bullshit. I've given you almost a week, and you're telling me that you've only written half of it? Mo Xiaohan, if you can do it, then do it. If you can't, then pack up and get lost. Half an hour. I'll give you half an hour. If you don't appear in front of me within half an hour, I'll let you know how many eyes I have. The roar came from the phone again. Mo Xiaohan's complexion changed. A burst of anger erupted from her chest as she shouted, "Get lost then. This great aunt doesn't want to serve you anymore. Get someone to throw away all of my things in the company. I'm too lazy to go to the company to see how many eyes you have." After saying that, she hung up the phone angrily and had an idea in her mind. Go to Shanghai, Fukang Province. Inside a European-style villa, Zhang Moyuan looked at the financial statements in front of him with a frown. He pulled out a few strands of his remaining hair. Ever since the economic crisis began a few years ago, the business of his company had been deteriorating year by year. Now, there was a cash flow problem. Money. It would be great if a windfall fell from the sky. Zhang Moyuan smoked the last cigarette in his pack. After rubbing his temples, he took out his mobile phone and opened his WeChat. Many of his old friends were there, many of whom were rich businessmen. But after thinking about it for a long time, he found that he didn't know who he should borrow money from. I usually have friends all over the world. Only when I'm in trouble do I realize that they're all fair-weather friends. Zhang Moyuan shook his head helplessly. Just as he was about to throw his mobile phone on the table, a message suddenly attracted his attention. To be precise, it should be the 2 jade carvings on the message. Jade dragon. Jade tiger. Zhang Moyuan's eyes widened. After carefully looking at it for a while, he shifted his gaze to the text above. When he finished reading the content above, the frown had completely disappeared and was replaced by ecstasy. 100 million US dollars. Zhang Moyuan staggered out of the room and quickly sprinted to the study. He grabbed a box from the corner and carefully opened it. What appeared in front of him was a lifelike, crimson-red jade rabbit. Chapter 854. Magic City. A world-class bustling city, the financial center. However, the Grand Fortune Jewelry's sky-high treasure hunt had attracted the attention of the whole country. Media from all over the country swarmed to this bustling city. Countless antique collectors, people who liked jade, experts who studied jade carving, and even some businessmen all came to this bustling city. At Paradise Manor. In the past, this high-end dining, leisure, and entertainment venue was now full of guests. Countless people had booked the hotels, inns, and even the farmhouses in the vicinity of Paradise Manor. Even though there were so many guest rooms, the supply still couldn't meet the demand. Many people couldn't find a place to stay, so they simply set up tents outside the Paradise Manor and waited for the person with the 12 zodiac jade carvings to appear. Who can become a billionaire? This topic had been hyped up and became extremely popular, but it was getting more and more intense. Inside the VIP building of Paradise Manor, Hao Lei, who had become a household name, sat by the window with a frown and looked at the surging tide of people outside without uttering a word for a long time. Pa! The door was pushed open as Qi Nan came in with a smile. She looked at the surprised Hao Lei and giggled, "How does it feel to be a big star, big sis Lei? Aren't you intoxicated and enjoying the taste of fame?" "Had I known that I'd be happy like this, I wouldn't have agreed to it even if you beat me to death," said Hao Lei with a forced smile. Enjoying it? This was simply suffering, a very torturous thing. I'm afraid I'll be affected if I want to carry out any tasks in the future. But you, how did you come here? Haven't you been cultivating in seclusion at the HQ in Jingmen Island? The smile on Qi Nan's face turned thicker. She gently stepped forward and gave her a hug, saying with a charming smile, "I can't always cultivate in seclusion, can I? It's time to go out, so I naturally have to come out for some fresh air. In fact, I didn't expect that I would hear such an interesting thing when I just returned to Shanghai." Hao Lei rolled her eyes and snappily said, "I think you're gloating over my misfortune." "How am I gloating over your misfortune?" Qi Nan giggled. "I just feel sorry for you." "Ha ha ha," Hao Lei thought for a while and said, "How about I ask the boss to give you the work here? It's not a problem to use the name of Grand Fortune Jewelry. I just need to announce to the public that you are the one who has spent a lot of money to find the 12 zodiac jade carvings." "No, no, no." The smile on Qi Nan's face froze. She waved her hand and said, "Sis Lei Lei, my good sister, please let me go. I'm not suitable for this kind of thing where I show my face in public. Besides, since the boss has been handed over to you, and you have become a well-known figure, how can I have the nerve to blindly follow you? The boss will reprimand us." Hao Lei shook her head and sighed, "I'm so unlucky." He really took the blame for the boss. Qi Nan curiously asked, "Sister Lei Lei, why does the boss want to find the 12 zodiac jade carvings?" A zodiac jade carving cost 100 million US dollars, which was simply a sky-high price. Does the boss think that having too much money is a burden? Do you want to burn money for fun? Hao Lei hesitated for a moment before replying in a low voice, "I don't know about this either. I didn't dare to ask Mo all after seeing him. Nan, we all know the boss's personality. If he doesn't tell us personally, we can't say anything even if we're curious." "I got it." Qi Nan quickly nodded. Nan, according to my understanding of the boss, he will never do something as boring as burning money for fun, even if he recently made a windfall," said Hao Lei. "I feel that he must have his own purpose. Or perhaps, those zodiac jade carvings are not ordinary objects. I'm afraid it's worth 100 million US dollars. "That's right. The boss never makes a losing deal," agreed Qi Nan. "But you said that the boss recently made a windfall, what's the situation?" it can be said that the bloodkin of Europe Salzburg made a deal with the boss. The boss sold them 100 medicinal pills, and they took out 20 billion pounds, or items of equal value, or cultivation resources useful to us. Hao Lei smilingly said. 20 billion pounds? Even though Qi Nan knew some large transactions, she was still shocked. In the past, she knew that some big deals were only worth tens of billions, and they were all in RMB. But she had never heard of a transaction worth 20 billion pounds, nearly 200 billion renminbi. Sister Lei Lei, those bloodkin are all fools, aren't they? Why do they need to spend so much money to buy 100 medicinal pills? Or do they have too much money to burn? Those medicinal pills that the boss took out are very helpful to the bloodkin, said Hao Lei smilingly. I heard that Shan Zhenna, the bloodkin who stayed in the Paradise Club before, got great benefits. Qi Nan suddenly understood and sighed. It seems that the bloodkin are really going all out to become stronger. At the entrance of the Paradise Manor, Yang Pengchao and Yuli ran while panting. The hot weather made them hungry, thirsty, and exhausted since they didn't have breakfast and lunch. Yang Pengchao, holding a black leather bag, and Yuli squeezed through the large number of media personnel outside and came to the gate blocked by dozens of security guards. 2 gentlemen, please show your Paradise Manor's VIP membership card. Jean Shi, who temporarily acted as the security team captain, coldly stared at Yang Pengchao and Yuli and spoke. Yang Pengchao and Yuli exchanged glances. After hesitating for a moment, they said, "Hello, we don't have your VIP membership card." "It doesn't matter if you don't have it," said Jean Shi. "You only need to pay 2 million to apply for a Paradise Manor VIP membership card." Of course, 2 million is equivalent to saving it in your VIP membership card and you can spend it in the Paradise Manor. 2 million. Yang Pengchao was secretly speechless. He looked at Jean Shi's indifferent expression and quickly turned to look at the hundreds of media personnel nearby. Then, he whispered, "We're actually here to sell something. Isn't Hao Lei, the general manager of Grand Fortune Jewelry, in this Paradise Manor? We want to find her." Jean Shi's expression moved and he immediately said, "Please come with me, 2 gentlemen." 10 minutes later, Jean Shi led Yang Pengchao and Yuli to the temporary VIP lounge and said, "I've just informed Manager Hao. She'll be here soon. Please take a rest here first." "Thank you." Yang Pengchao and Yuli hurriedly replied. Both of them came from the bottom of society and had never been to such a luxurious place. They were shocked along the way. With Jean Shi's departure, only the 2 of them were left in the hundreds of square meters VIP lounge. Yang Pengchao turned to look at the tea table in front of the huge sofa, as well as several exquisite pastries placed on it. Gurgle, Yang Pengchao's stomach growled. He awkwardly looked at Yuli and hesitated for a moment before asking, "Are you hungry? There are pastries and tea on the table. You can eat some first if you're hungry." Yuli endured the feeling of hunger as she shook her head and worriedly said, "Let's not eat. If we have to pay for the food here, Yang Pengchao interrupted her and pulled her to the sofa to take a seat. He then brought 2 plates of pastries and drinks and said, "It's all right. We don't have to worry about not having money to spend here as long as they're willing to buy my jade monkey. Besides, you can eat it if you're hungry. I can afford these pastries and drinks even if I can't sell the jade monkey." "All right." Yuli felt warm inside and silently took it. Creak, as the VIP lounge's door was pushed open, Hao Lei led 4 experts of the everlasting feast hall in black suits and strode inside. When she saw Yang Pengchao and Yuli hurriedly getting up from the sofa with pastries and drinks in their hands, a surprised look flashed in her eyes. She smilingly stepped forward and asked, "Hello, I'm Hao Lei, the general manager of Grand Fortune Jewelry. I just heard that you have the 12 zodiac jade carvings. May I know if it's true?" Yang Pengchao put down the pastries and drinks. Hao Lei's aura and the 4 big men in black made him a bit nervous, so he braced himself and said, "Yes, I have the jade monkey. Please have a seat." "No need to be nervous." Hao Lei smiled. After taking a seat, May I know how to address you, sir? Asked Hao Lei with a smile. I'm Yang Pingchao, and she's Yuli, Yang Pingchao hurriedly said. Mr. Yang, since you said you have the jade monkey, I wonder if you can let me see it first. Hao Lei said with a smile. Yang Pingchao hesitated and didn't immediately take out the jade monkey. Instead, he hurriedly asked, the newspaper said that you're willing to spend $100 million to buy the 12 zodiac carvings. Is it true? What if I give you the jade monkey and you don't give me the money? Pfft, you don't need to worry about money, little brother, said Hao Lei with a charming smile. Our boss doesn't lack integrity. As long as the jade monkey you bring is what our boss needs, we'll definitely pay you $100 million. For the sake of your safety, we will even keep your identities a secret. Really? Yang Pingchao was pleasantly surprised. It's more real than real gold. Hao Lei nodded. As Yang Pingchao was about to take out the jade monkey from his black leather bag, Yuli, who was next to him, suddenly asked, Big sis Hao Lei, you just said that the person who wants to buy the 12 zodiac jade carvings is your boss. But I've checked your information on the internet. It's written that you're the general manager of Grand Fortune Jewelry. You're still students, aren't you? Hao Lei said with a smile, general manager and big boss are two different concepts. I'm just the general manager responsible for managing the Grand Fortune Jewelry business, not the real boss. Of course, if the jade monkey you bring is real, you'll see our boss. Yuli suddenly realized and nodded with a bit of embarrassment. Yang Pingchao took out the jade monkey from his leather bag and handed it to Hao Lei, saying, This is the jade monkey. I bought it for 200 yuan, 200 yuan. Hao Lei stared blankly for a moment. Her eyes lingered on the jade monkey a few times before she took it and carefully appraised it. She had seen the jade dragon and jade tiger in the hands of her boss, Tan Xiu. She also learned from Tan Xiu that there was a gray mark on the head of each zodiac jade carving. Chapter 855. Hao Lei quietly observed the red jade monkey. As the true essence within her body converged into her eyes, her torch-like eyes looked at the head of the jade monkey. Yes, there are gray traces. Hao Lei's eyes revealed a pleasantly surprised look. She immediately put the jade monkey on the coffee table in front of her and took out her mobile phone to dial Tan Xiu's number. Boss, I've found the jade monkey. Wait for me. Hao Lei hung up the phone and looked up at the nervous Yang Pingchao and Yuli. She smiled and said, You don't need to worry. I've just appraised this jade monkey. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of the zodiac jade carvings our boss is looking for. Of course, the final decision is in the hands of our boss. He'll rush over immediately. Once our boss has confirmed it, we'll transfer the money on the spot and $100 million will be sent to your account soon. That's great. Yang Pingchao exclaimed in surprise. Little brother, I just heard you say that you bought this jade monkey for 200 yuan. Hao Lei said with a smile. Can you tell me about the situation at that time? Yang Pingchao somewhat regretted mentioning this matter. He was afraid that Hao Lei or her boss wouldn't give him the $100 million after knowing that he only spent 200 yuan to buy the jade monkey. Forget it. Even if they don't give me $100 million, I'm willing to sell it as long as they can give me more than 1 million renminbi. Yang Pingchao set a price for himself. Subsequently, he looked at Yuli and said, Actually, I've liked Yuli since I was a freshman in high school. I wanted to give her a gift on Valentine's Day, so I looked for it everywhere. I originally planned to buy it in a boutique store, but then I found this jade monkey on a roadside stall. I thought it was very beautiful, and it only cost 200 yuan, so I bought it. But on Valentine's Day in high school, Yuli asked for leave and didn't come to class. In the end, I didn't give this jade monkey to her and just left it in the bookshelf at home. A trace of joy appeared in Yuli's eyes as she asked, You were a freshman in high school. Yang Pingchao grabbed Yuli's hand and didn't let go despite her struggling twice. He nodded and said, I liked you since junior high school. It's also because of you that I was admitted to a key county high school. Hao Lei looked at the two children in front of her and found that their emotions were very sincere. She smiled and said, "You two little guys are really good. I can also see that you like each other. Also, you guys are very lucky. $200 can be sold for 100 million USD. God is looking out for you. However, I want to send you a message." Yang Pengchao and Yuli hurriedly looked at Hao Lei. "Please speak." Hao Lei said, "I've seen too many couples who could go through thick and thin together, but couldn't share the riches and honor together. If our boss appraises the jade monkey as genuine, you will have 100 million US dollars. With such wealth, I hope you won't be blinded by money and lose your mind. Don't lose your most sincere and pure love because of money. You are still young and have too much to lose. But I can tell you that even if you have 100 times more wealth than 100 million US dollars, you may not be able to buy true love." Yang Pengchao glanced at Yuli before he turned to Hao Lei and said, "I'll keep your words in mind. I'll never give up on her as long as she doesn't abandon me." Yuli didn't speak, but her grip on Yang Pengchao's hand tightened. 4:00 in the afternoon. Tan Xiu hurried to the Paradise Manor. After asking where Hao Lei was, he quickly rushed to the VIP room. To his surprise, the ones who brought the jade monkey turned out to be a couple younger than him. "Boss, this is Yang Pengchao and she's Yuli," Hao Lei greeted them and introduced them to Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu faintly smiled and nodded to the two, saying, "I'm glad to meet you. I'm Tan Xiu, the real owner of the zodiac statue who wants to buy it at a high price." Yang Pengchao looked at Tan Xiu with a surprised expression. He felt that the man in front of him was a bit familiar, but what surprised him the most was that his boss was so young. Judging from his age, he seemed to be only a few years older than him. "You're Tan Xiu?" Yuli stared with wide eyes and asked incredulously. "Do you know me?" Tan Xiu said with a smile. Yuli's small head nodded like a chick pecking rice as she quickly said, "I've read the news about you. You're not only the famous young divine doctor of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, but also a true philanthropist." "That's right, I just remembered that you're also the big boss of the magnificent Tang Corporation." At the side, Yang Pengchao suddenly sobered up. He just felt that Tan Xiu looked familiar, and after Yuli's reminder, he immediately recalled Tan Xiu's identity. At this moment, despite having entered the society for 2 years and having experienced a lot of hardships, he was still scared. It was Tan Xiu. He was the idol he once worshipped. "You have good eyesight." "That's right. It's me," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Idol, you have a bodhisattva's heart. Can you save my mommy?" Yuli hurriedly said. "What?" Tan Xiu was dumbfounded. Didn't he come to buy the jade monkey? How come he suddenly wanted to save her? Yang Pengchao also suddenly realized the matter regarding Yuli's mother and hurriedly said, "Boss. Boss Tang, Yuli's mommy is sick. Moreover, it's a very serious case of leukemia. We came all the way to Shanghai to sell the jade monkey just to raise money for her mommy's treatment." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he nodded and said, "Remember my private phone number later. After you go back, bring her mommy to Shanghai. Regardless of whether the jade monkey you brought is what I need or not, I'll promise you." "Thank you. Thank you." Yuli was so happy that she cried tears of gratitude. Tan Xiu shook his head and motioned Hao Lei to give Yuli a tissue. Then, he said, "Calm your emotions. We still have important things to do. The jade monkey on the table is brought by you, right?" Yang Pengchao was somewhat moved by Tan Xiu's decision, so he immediately said, "Yes, it's us." Tan Xiu reached out and took the jade monkey in his hand. A few seconds later, he was sure that it was one of the 12 zodiac animals he was looking for. Feeling happy, Tan Xiu looked at Hao Lei and said, "Give them their bank accounts and transfer 100 million US dollars to them." "No need, Boss Tang," said Yang Pengchao quickly. You don't need to give us so much money as long as you can cure Yuli's mother. 1 million RMB will do. Oh. Tan Xiao looked at Yang Pingchao in surprise and asked, are you really willing to give up 100 million US dollars? Yang Pingchao hesitated for a moment before he firmly nodded and said, I'm willing to give up as long as you can cure Yuli's mother. Are you still a student? Asked Tan Xiao. Yang Pingchao shook his head and said, I dropped out of high school and worked in Jing City for 2 years. Do you know what 100 million US dollars means to you? Asked Tan Xiao. I know, but I'm afraid, said Yang Pingchao bitterly. A smile appeared on Tan Xiao's face as he walked toward Yang Pingchao and smilingly said, are you interested in working for me in the future? Yang Pingchao was caught off guard by Tan Xiao's 180-degree change of topic. He blankly asked, what do you mean by working for you? I need smart people, but I need real people, said Tan Xiao with a smile. Even if you have 10 billion US dollars, it's worthless in my eyes. But if you have a good character, you'll be worth 10 billion US dollars even if you don't have a penny. So, if you agree, I'll give you a chance to have a meteoric rise as long as you're loyal to me in the future. Yang Pingchao was shaken inwardly as though a thunderclap had exploded inside his heart. Who was Tan Xiao? He was an amazing man in the country. Just the magnificent Tang Corporation alone had a total asset of tens of billions of US dollars. Furthermore, Yang Pingchao had checked the details of the Grand Fortune jewelry on the internet. It was also a large jewelry group with tens of billions of US dollars in assets. But now, it seemed that this Grand Fortune jewelry was also Tan Xiao's property. Yang Pingchao simply couldn't imagine how much wealth Tan Xiao had that others didn't know about. However, such an amazing man, a true super-rich man, unexpectedly thought highly of him and wanted to give him a chance to have a meteoric rise. I'm willing. Yang Pingchao's lips trembled as he hurriedly replied. Tan Xiao nodded with satisfaction and smilingly said, give your account number to Hao Lei. Tell her to transfer 100 million US dollars to your account. Also, I can see that you're very tired, so you can stay and rest in the Paradise Manor. I'll send someone to book a room for you. Everything here is free of charge. Yang Pingchao was dumbfounded. He didn't understand why Tan Xiao still mentioned the 100 million US dollars. In order to figure it out, he hesitated and asked, do you really want to give me 100 million US dollars? Tan Xiao said seriously, I, Tan Xiao, value integrity the most. I'll never go back on my words. Since you're willing to sell the jade monkey to me, I must pay you 100 million US dollars. After saying that, Tan Xiao took the jade monkey and turned to walk outside. When he went outside, he looked at Hao Lei, who followed him out, and said, immediately spread the news that the jade monkey has been found. Because the seller wants to keep it a secret, we can't disclose his identity. Hao Lei respectfully said, all right. Tan Xiao said, in addition, since Yuli's mother is coming to Shanghai to see me for treatment, send someone to go back with them, so that it's convenient to take care of her. Hao Lei smiled and said, boss, Qi Nan has just returned to Shanghai. Why don't you let her go? Tan Xiao was surprised and said, Qi Nan is back. That's fine. Let her take some people and take good care of the patient on the way. In the VIP lounge, Yang Pingchao felt as though he was dreaming. He felt dizzy for a long time before he muttered to himself, today is the most unreal day I've ever had since I was a child. Yuli, try twisting me. I want to see if I'm dreaming or not. Yuli didn't twist him, but very seriously said, you're not dreaming. It's all real. It's just that we didn't expect that the real buyer turned out to be Tan Xiao. Yang Pingchao looked at Yuli, nodded and said, as long as Tan Xiao can cure your mother's illness, I'll accept it even if he doesn't give me a penny. As long as you're willing to be my girlfriend and marry me in the future, it's worth it. Chapter 856. The Paradise Club's F&B department was filled with delicious food and drinks, making the hungry Yang Pengchao and Yuli eat until their mouths were covered with grease. The desserts and fruits after the meal were even more appetizing as they rubbed their bloated bellies and sighed. "Two gentlemen, our boss told us that if you have any other requests, please don't hesitate to ask. Also, please keep these 2 VIP membership cards. The VIP rooms have also been prepared. This is the room card, and the 2 of you can rest there at any time." The tall and beautiful employee of the Paradise Club said with a smile. Yang Pengchao asked curiously, "Your boss? Is he the Paradise Manor's boss?" "That's right. He's our boss," said the female staff with a smile. "But we don't know your boss, no?" asked Yang Pengchao with a puzzled expression. "But why did he give us VIP membership cards? Is it because of Boss Tang's arrangement?" "Is the Boss Tang you mentioned Tan Xiu?" asked the female staff. "Yes." Yang Pengchao nodded. "Our boss's surname is Ouyang, and she's Boss Tang's girlfriend," said the female staff with a smile. "Therefore, the staff here will also call him boss. He's also the one who gave us the order to receive you too." Yang Pengchao was secretly flabbergasted. Never did he expect that such a luxurious and high-end Paradise Manor turned out to be opened by Tan Xiu's girlfriend. This was also his property, right? "Boss Tang is really amazing," sighed Yuli sincerely. "He can be said to be as rich as a country. In any case, I think the Forbes list released every year isn't that reliable. Boss Tang's net worth is definitely in the top." Yang Pengchao nodded. "Our boss doesn't like to be in the limelight," said the female staff with a smile. Ring. While talking, Yang Pengchao's cell phone rang. He grabbed it and opened the text message he just received. He was immediately dumbfounded. 1, 2, 3. 9, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yang Pengchao counted 3 times and then murmured with a dull face, "The first 9 digits of the decimal point is more than 690 million? What?" Yuli looked at Yang Pengchao with a confused expression. Yang Pengchao's complexion turned red and his body slightly trembled. His lips trembled as he said, Yuli, pinch me. Let me feel if I'm dreaming." "What's going on?" asked Yuli with a strange expression. "How did you become like this just by looking at your phone?" Yang Pengchao's voice became much louder as he hurriedly said, 690 million, 690 million, ah. Tan Xiu. Boss Tang was telling the truth. He really had someone transfer $100 million to my bank account. If converted to RMB, it would be more than 690 million. Good man, really good man. Yuli hurriedly came to Yang Pengchao's side and read the text message several times. Only then did she exclaim with a face full of ecstasy, "A gentleman keeps his word. Boss Tang is really trustworthy." "Pengchao, you must work hard with Boss Tang in the future. I firmly believe that he can give you a brilliant future." Yang Pengchao nodded heavily and said with a serious expression, "I will." At the entrance of Paradise Villa, dressed in youthful and beautiful attire, Mo Xiaohan walked through the door with a handbag. However, her eyes kept glancing at Jin Shi who was leading the way in front of her, and her heart was pounding. A handsome man. An absolute handsome man. Although he wasn't handsome, he was definitely cold and cool. She had long since passed the age where it was easy to be shy like a little girl. She had even seen a lot of handsome men and women, but she found that the handsome men and women she had seen in the past were all inferior to the security guard in front of her. If this young lady's jade rooster is real, I can get $100 million. I must make this cool uncle my mistress. I won't do anything in the future and just watch this cool uncle do the laundry and cook for me every day. After fantasizing for a while, Mo Xiaohan unconsciously followed Jin Shi into a VIP lounge that was hundreds of square meters in size. Despite having been to many high-end places, she was still shocked by the decorations inside. "Cool uncle, what's your name?" "My name has nothing to do with you," said Jin Shi indifferently. Just wait here for a while. I've notified my boss and he'll come to see you soon. Having said that, he turned around and walked toward the VIP lounge's door. Emo Xiaohan waved her hand and opened her mouth, but she didn't know what to say. Just as Jin Shi was about to disappear at the door, she plucked up her courage and shouted, "Cool uncle, if being a security guard is tiring, wait for me to get $100 million. I'll support you in the future." Jin Shi, who just stepped out of the door, staggered and nearly fell to the ground. He was at a loss whether he had to laugh or cry as he turned to glare at Emo Xiaohan and then quickly left. A few minutes later, Tan Xiu appeared in the VIP lounge and looked at the youthful and beautiful Emo Xiaohan. He stepped forward and said with a smile, "Hello, I'm Tan Xiu. I'm also the one looking for the zodiac jade carvings. May I know how to address you, miss?" "My surname is Emo," said Emo Xiaohan. "Strange, why do I find you a bit familiar? And your name?" "Tan Xiu. It seems that there's a very kind divine doctor with the same name." Her voice came to an abrupt halt. Emo Xiaohan's bright eyes instantly stared with a shocked expression as she exclaimed, "I remember. You're that young divine doctor, Tan Xiu." "That's right, it's me," said Tan Xiu with a smile. "You're the one who wants to spend $100 million to buy the zodiac jade carvings. Heavens! How can you be so rich?" "No, that's not right. You're not only going to spend $100 million. You still need 10 zodiac jade carvings. Doesn't that mean you'll have to spend $1 billion? Don't let your imagination run wild." Tan Xiu said with a smile, "We already know each other, so let's talk about the deal. You said you have a jade rooster, where is it?" Emo Xiaohan gulped down and asked with a bewildered expression, "If I really have a jade rooster, will you really give me $100 million? "Yes, I will," Tan Xiu firmly replied. Emo Xiaohan nodded with satisfaction. She then took out a red and lifelike jade rooster from her carry-on bag and handed it to Tan Xiu, saying, "This is it." After receiving it and appraising it, Tan Xiu suppressed his joy and nodded, "That's right. This is the jade rooster from the set of zodiac jade carvings. Miss Emo, this jade rooster belongs to me from now on. Tell me your bank account number and I'll send someone to transfer the money to your account right away." "All right." Emo Xiaohan suppressed her excitement and immediately nodded to tell Tan Xiu her bank account number. At this moment, Jin Shi, who had just left not long ago, returned and quickly came to Tan Xiu's front and reported, "Boss, another guest who claims to have a zodiac jade carving has arrived. Our men are bringing him here." Tan Xiu's eyes lit up and he quickly said, "Did he say which zodiac jade carving he brought?" I asked. "I heard it's a jade rabbit," said Jin Shi. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction. He then turned to look at Emo Xiaohan and said, "Miss Emo, you must have come to Shanghai from another place, right? If you're willing, you can rest in Paradise Manor. During your stay, all expenses will be waived. Divine Dr. Tang, can you let me have a look at the jade rabbit?" asked Emo Xiaohan quickly. Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, "You can have a look. But since you want to see the jade rabbit, you must let the other party know that you're the one who brought the jade rooster. After all, we'll help you keep it a secret if you don't want to disclose your identity." "No problem. I agree." Emo Xiaohan nodded happily. Shortly after, Zhang Moyuan followed the security guards. When he saw Tan Xiu, he recognized Tan Xiu's identity at first glance and greeted Tan Xiu with a bit of excitement and apprehension. "Mr. Zhang, this is the previous owner of the jade rooster," said Tan Xiu with a smile. "If you don't mind, take out the jade rabbit now." Zhang Moyuan nodded to Emo Xiaohan and immediately took out the jade rabbit and handed it to Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu judged that the jade rabbit was also one of the 12 zodiac jade carvings. "Is this what you need, Boss Tang?" "That's right." Tan Xiu nodded. "Then, when will you?" asked Zhang Moyuan excitedly. Tan Xiu looked at his hesitant expression and smilingly said, I understand what you mean. Give me your bank account number and I'll immediately send someone to transfer the money to your account. We've already discussed this transaction with the bank, so the money will be in your account within 2 hours once we transfer the money. Great! Great! Exclaimed Zhang Moyuan ecstatically. You can rest assured about the confidentiality issue, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Also, since the two of you have come from afar, you can rest at our Paradise Manor first. All expenses are free of charge. A hesitant look appeared on Zhang Moyuan's face as he said, Boss Tang, can I say that I don't need your help to keep it a secret? You don't need to keep it a secret. Tan Xiu was surprised. Of course. We can even release the news to the reporters and announce your real situation. Thank you so much, said Zhang Moyuan with all seriousness. I want the whole country to know that I'm the former owner of the Jade Rabbit and I sold it for $100 million. No problem. Tang Xiu readily agreed and smilingly asked, Mr. Zhang, there are very few people who would deliberately publicize their windfall after making a fortune. Can you tell me why you're different from others? To tell you the truth, I just want to let those who refuse me, look down on me, and even ridicule me know that I, Zhang Moyuan, am not at a dead end. I, Zhang Moyuan, am not at a dead end. Before I came to Shanghai this time, my company's business was in trouble and there was a serious problem with the capital chain. I borrowed money from a lot of friends who I thought I had a good relationship with, but everyone avoided me as if I was a plague. Many of their words were very unpleasant to hear. After a while, Tan Xiu finally figured it out and secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, Zhang Moyuan's company was in trouble and his friends didn't lend him money. Otherwise, it was hard to say whether he would come to Shanghai and sell the Jade Rabbit to him. Chapter 857. In the evening. The reporters squatting outside the Paradise Manor listlessly glanced at the imposing gate. The peddlers pushing the tricycles were shouting their dishes. Even if they were starving, they didn't have much desire to eat. Not having any news was an endless torment for media people like them. Dear friends from the media, I've just received a notice to invite you to the eastern suburb square of the manor. The banquet has been prepared for you, and there's something important to inform you. Jean Sher strode out of the manor's gate and looked around at the thousands of media people. Something important? Could it be that there's news? OMG! Is the Grand Fortune Jewelry going to break the news? They even prepared a banquet. I never thought I'd be able to eat Paradise Manor's food one day. If it's big news, I'll eat my fill today. Hurry up. We must grab a good seat. The thousands of reporters were excited. They cheered up and rushed into the Paradise Manor's gate under the order of dozens of Paradise Manor's security guards. At the eastern suburb square, hundreds of round tables filled the place as waitresses with beautiful faces and extraordinary temperament came with fragrant dishes and drinks. The strong aroma of the dishes aroused the appetite of all the reporters. However, as the reporters took their seats, no one moved their chopsticks. All kinds of cameras and cannons began to be fixed and calibrated, all aimed at the temporary half-meter-high platform at the northernmost end. Jean Sher stepped on the platform without a microphone in his hand, but his voice was transmitted to the ears of every reporter. Ladies and gentlemen, our boss said that you must eat and drink before you listen to the news. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't have the mood to finish your meal after the big news is announced. Also, our boss also said that waste is shameful, so please cherish every bit of food. Thank you. After saying that, Jean Sher strode away from the platform. The reporters were dumbfounded. This was the first time they encountered a situation where they were invited to dinner first and then announced important news. However, such an arrangement warmed their hearts. It was obvious that the Grand Fortune Jewelry's boss knew their current situation very well. He knew that the first thing they would do after getting the news was to write a press release and submit the filming materials, striving to report the news as soon as possible. Colleagues, hurry up and eat. eat and drink before you listen to the news." A burly reporter at a table roared, then grabbed his chopsticks and wolfed down the food. Under his lead, the tens of millions of reporters ate the meat and drank the tea. However, no one touched the wine on the table. Half an hour later, Hao Lei, followed by 3 waiters carrying trays, came down to the stage. She was wearing a floral skirt with her long, flowing hair, looking particularly dignified and beautiful. She glanced at the crowd with a microphone in her hand and smilingly said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to everyone's presence. I'm Hao Lei, the general manager of Grand Fortune Jewelry. Now I'd like to announce 2 things. The first is that our Grand Fortune Jewelry has welcomed 3 waves of distinguished guests, and the zodiac carvings brought by these 3 waves of distinguished guests are exactly the jade carvings that we're looking for." 3 waves. All the reporters were excited. One of the reporters at the table closest to Hao Lei asked loudly, "President Hao, can you tell us the identities of those VIPs? And what kind of zodiac jade carvings did they send?" Hao Lei smiled and said, "Revealing the identity of the honored guest is the second matter. Now, I will show you the zodiac jade carvings they sent over." After saying that, she gestured to the 3 waiters behind her, and they immediately lifted the yellow silk cloth covering the trays. In a flash, all the cameras were aimed at the 3 red and lifelike zodiac jade carvings on the trays. The 3 zodiac jade carvings are the jade monkey, jade rooster, and jade rabbit, said Hao Lei with a smile. Together with the jade dragon and jade tiger in our hands, we now have a complete set of 5 zodiac jade carvings. I hope all the reporters and friends can help us advertise and find the remaining 7 zodiac jade carvings. The flashes kept flashing, and the focus kept hovering on the 3 jade carvings. Hao Lei continued, "The second thing I want to announce is that the VIPs of the jade monkey and jade rooster don't want their identities to be exposed, so we can't tell you who they are. However, $100 million has been paid to them. As for the VIPs who brought the jade rabbit, he's willing to be interviewed by everyone." "That's great. Where is he? It's better to have someone willing to be interviewed than no one. Where is he? Who is he?" Behind the platform, accompanied by 4 security guards, Zhang Moyuan came to the stage. He stood in front of Hao Lei and hurriedly nodded to salute her. "Let me introduce him to everyone. This is boss Zhang Moyuan from Fukang province," said Hao Lei with a smile. "He's also the big boss of Fukang's Yulong Construction Materials. Now, let us invite boss Zhang to speak." Zhang Moyuan took the microphone and his deep eyes swept the audience below. After a few seconds of silence, a forced smile appeared on his face as he said, "In fact, many people think that I'm a big boss with hundreds of millions of assets, so I should be very rich. That's right, I was indeed very rich a few months ago. At the very least, I didn't have to worry about food and drink. I lived in a mansion, drove a luxury car, and had countless rich friends. However, it's hard to do business these days, and it's even harder to be a boss. Due to some special unforeseen events, the business of my Yulong Construction Materials Group has shrunk significantly, and there's even a cash flow problem. The jade rabbit is one of my favorite collectibles. I even fantasized about keeping it as my Zhang family's heirloom and passing it on to my descendants. However, I had no choice but to take it out when the company was in trouble. I'll bring it to Shanghai in the Paradise Manor. Just 2 hours ago, more than 690 million yuan was transferred to my account, and I've also transferred 190 million yuan to my company's public account. It can be said that Jade Rabbit saved my company, and it was Jade Rabbit who allowed my assets to skyrocket. Although I have regrets in my heart, I'm also satisfied. This satisfaction comes not only from the income of money, but also from the fact that I know that there's not only one kind of zodiac jade carving in this world, but also 11 other kinds. I brought the Jade Rabbit with me in the hope that Grand Fortune Jewelry can find 12 zodiac jade carvings as soon as possible. Zhang Moyuan's speech was neither fast nor slow, but at this time, the reporters below were ignited. A collectible jade rabbit saved a company with a market value of hundreds of millions of yuan, preventing a tycoon from going bankrupt, and having many friends but no one to help him, all kinds of key points, all kinds of highlights. Each and every one of the reporters' faces turned red, and blue veins danced on their foreheads. Late at night. At the Shanghai railway station, Chen Jianxi dragged his tired body out. He held a folding stool in his hand and carried a worn-out black leather bag on his shoulder, followed by his cousin, Chen Jiawei. "Brother, we've arrived in Shanghai, but where can we find a buyer?" Chen Jiawei's face was dark, his body was strong, and his voice was gruff. Chen Jianxi hesitated and said, "The newspaper said that it's the Paradise Manor." "How do we know where it is?" "How about we call the phone number left in the newspaper and ask about the situation?" "Call." Chen Jiawei was a bit uneasy as he had just arrived in a bustling metropolis, so he hurriedly nodded and said. Chen Jianxi grabbed his old Nokia mobile phone that he had used for 5 or 6 years and dialed the phone number in the newspaper. It didn't take long for the call to be connected. "Hello, I'm Hao Lei. May I ask who you are?" Hello. "We're here to sell the jade ox. The newspaper said that you want to buy it. Is it true?" Chen Jianxi controlled his emotions and said with a face full of expectation. Hao Lei said, "Jade ox. May I ask where you are?" "I'm Hao Lei, the general manager of Grand Fortune Jewelry. We really want to buy the zodiac jade carvings. We just arrived in Shanghai and just got out of the train station," said Chen Jianxi. "About that, this is our first time coming to Shanghai and we're not familiar with this place, so we don't know where to go. Please tell me which train station it is. I'll immediately send someone." "No, I'll personally pick you up," said Hao Lei. "Which train station? Isn't it Shanghai train station?" asked Chen Jianxi with a puzzled expression. Hao Lei was at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh. "There are several train stations in Shanghai, 40 minutes later." Hao Lei, along with Jin Shi and the others, hurried to the Shanghai train station. After calling them, they finally found Chen Jianxi and Chen Jiawei, who were sitting on a stool and smoking in the square. "May I ask which one of you is Mr. Chen Jianxi?" Chen Jianxi. Chen Jianxi hurriedly stood up and looked at the dignified and elegant Hao Lei, as well as the burly and imposing Jin Shi's group. He stammered and said, I'm Chen Jianye. You're that Hao. Hao Lei, Manager Hao. Hao Lei stretched out her hand and smilingly said, "That's right. I'm Hao Lei, the General Manager of Grand Fortune Jewelry. Welcome to Shanghai. Mr. Chen, the car is in the parking lot. Please come with me." All right. Chen Jianxi blushed and shook hands with Hao Lei. He subconsciously rubbed his hands on his clothes and pulled Chen Jiawei to follow Hao Lei's group to the parking lot. They returned to Paradise Manor. Hao Lei took the two to the VIP lounge and ordered the waiter to prepare the meal. Then, she smilingly asked, "You two, you said you brought a jade ox. Please take it out. I need to appraise it. If it's a real jade ox, we're willing to buy it for $100 million. $100 million. Chen Jianxi and Chen Jiawei were instantly excited. After all, such a huge number was simply an astronomical figure for them. Soon after, Chen Jianxi took the jade ox out of his worn-out black leather bag and handed it to Hao Lei, saying, "This is it. It's the Chen family's heirloom. I've been begging my father for a long time, and he finally gave it to me. Manager Hao, you can't deceive us. My son is still waiting for the money to get a wife. My daughter is still waiting for the money to pay for her tuition. If you don't want to pay so much money, you can pay less." Chapter 858. Hao Lei looked at the simple and honest Chen Jianxi, who was a bit perturbed, and comforted him. "Don't worry, Mr. Chen. If the jade bull you brought is one of the zodiac jade carvings we're looking for, we'll pay you $100 million. All right. We'll listen to you." Chen Jianxi calmed down a bit and walked down under Hao Lei's call. However, just as his buttocks sat on the sofa, he bounced up and said with a bit of panic, sorry. My clothes are too dirty. I don't want to dirty your sofa. I'll make a stool. After saying that, he walked a few steps to the sofa, opened the stool and directly sat on it. Hao Lei was at a loss whether to cry or laugh as she looked at Chen Jianxi. She was about to speak when she suddenly noticed Tan Xiu's figure outside the door. She immediately went to greet him and said, "This is the Jade Bull, boss." Tan Xiu took it and shot a deep look at Chen Jianxi. Then, he carefully observed the Jade Bull. After his inspection, he found that this Jade Bull was indeed one of the 12 zodiac jade carvings. It was absolutely genuine. Take it back, Hao Lei. After handing the Jade Bull to Hao Lei, Tan Xiu strode to Chen Jianxi and said, "If my guess is correct, you're Uncle Chen Jianxi, right? I'm Tan Xiu, the buyer of this zodiac jade carving. I just appraised it, and the Jade Bull you brought is indeed what I need. However, it's already early in the morning now, and I'm afraid the bank transfer will have to be done during the day." "I know you. You're that amazing divine doctor," asked Chen Jianxi excitedly. You're really willing to buy it?" "I'll buy it. It's a done deal," said Tan Xiu with a smile. Chen Jianxi excitedly rubbed his hands and said, "Tang. Divine Dr. Tang, $100 million is way too much. Just give us whatever you want. It won't be a problem as long as my son can buy a house and marry a wife, and my daughter can finish college. Uncle Chen, Tan Xiu, am a man of his word." Tan Xiu shook his head. "The $100 million I've promised is absolutely not less than a penny. How about this? Hand over the jade ox to me first. I'll get someone to transfer 690 million yuan to your account now. As for the rest, I'll give you cash. I don't have an account. I only have a passbook." Chen Jianxi scratched his head and said worriedly. At the side, Chen Jiawei pulled Chen Jianxi and whispered, "Brother Jianxi, the account is in the passbook." Tan Xiu smiled slightly. After learning that the two of them had a bumpy journey today, they were a bit hungry, so he accompanied them to eat and drink some wine. After that, he personally sent the two of them to the luxurious VIP room. Before they left, Tan Xiu even asked someone to measure their figures and prepared 2 sets of clothes for each of them according to their sizes. In the luxurious VIP room, Chen Jiawei stepped on the soft carpet and raised his head to look at the soft crystal lamp. After sighing a few times, he ran to the bedroom and the bathroom to check again and finally came to the small balcony. A few minutes later, he was dazzled and returned to the living room. He looked at the silent Jianxi Chen sitting on the sofa and excitedly said, "Brother Jianxi, I've made the right choice to follow you this time." It was luxurious and imposing, just like heaven in his dreams. "I never thought that I would be able to live in such a luxurious house for the rest of my life." Chen Jianxi frowned and didn't speak, but a worried look flashed in his eyes. Chen Jiawei finally noticed Chen Jianxi's abnormality and asked with a confused expression, "What happened to you, Brother Jianxi? Do you think Divine Dr. Tang will renege on his debt after taking the jade ox away?" Chen Jianxi hesitated. Ugh, the expression on Chen Jiawei's face froze. After thinking hard for a long time, he said with a bit of panic, "That's right. Why did he take the jade ox away? If he's a swindler, we'll lose everything. Come on, let's go find him now." Chen Jianxi pulled Chen Jiawei and hesitantly said, "Don't go find him first. Let's think about it carefully. I don't think Divine Dr. Tang will deceive us." "Who is he?" "He's the famous young divine doctor. His deeds have been reported by many TV stations all over the country. But I'm still a bit worried. How about we give him some money first?" Chen Jiawei nodded. "At least we won't have to worry about money later." "That makes sense." Chen Jianxi immediately nodded in agreement. 10 minutes later, when the duo left the VIP suite and looked for Tang Xiu everywhere, Hao Lei appeared in front of them. She handed a black bag to them and smilingly said, "This is 500,000 renminbi in cash. We'll transfer the whole amount to your account, and you'll be paid with cash for the remaining 2 digits. The money will be transferred to your account by noon tomorrow at the latest." 500,000. Qin Jianxi couldn't help but shiver. He quickly unzipped the black leather bag and looked at the half-filled bag full of 100 yuan bills inside. His body trembled. He had never seen so much money in his entire life. But now, this money was all his. Suddenly, he seemed to recall something as he looked at Qin Jiawei and said, "We were wrong. Divine Dr. Tang is just like the rumor said. He's a good man, a great philanthropist. He didn't lie to us. He's a man of his word. The two of us were worried before. It's really, really wrong." Looking at the money, Qin Jiawei's eyes nearly shone. He nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, yes, yes. You're right, Brother Jianxi. Divine Dr. Tang really has integrity. He's really a good man." Hao Lei was at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh as she looked at the two men. She then said with a smile, "To be honest, our boss's integrity is really good. I can see that he's very cordial when he sees you. He treats you better than the other VIPs who came to sell the jade carvings. Now, I can understand our boss because he can see the simple and honest nature in you. You two go back and rest first. You can choose to play in Shanghai for a few days or go home after the money is transferred to your account. Our boss told us that all your expenses here will be reimbursed by us." There were several Western-style buildings in the depths of the woods north of Paradise Manor. One of them was recently built and had just been renovated. As the big boss, Ouyang Lulu officially moved in a few days ago. Under the moonlight, Ouyang Lulu slept soundly. Her slight snoring was like the wind blowing outside the window, highlighting the tranquility of the house under the shadow of the dancing leaves. There were 6 jade carvings: jade ox, jade tiger, jade dragon, jade rabbit, jade monkey, and jade rooster. They were neatly placed on the table beside the bed, exuding a hazy luster under the moonlight. Sitting in front of the table, Tan Xiu's eyes were particularly bright as they lingered on each of the zodiac jade carvings. He had made up his mind. If he could find all 12 jade carvings, he would be able to unlock some kind of mysterious profundity. It could even make his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds in a short time, and he wouldn't be too far away from ascending to the immortal world. The final exam is over. I'll immediately set off to Longquan Bay in Kanas to open that immortal trove. No matter what opportunity one get there, I must go into seclusion to comprehend the heavenly Tao trajectory inside these 6 jade carvings. No matter how difficult it is, I must comprehend the heavenly Tao of this world." Tan Xiu clenched his fists and an unprecedented firmness flashed in his eyes. He wanted to ascend to the immortal world and take revenge. He also wanted to look down upon the immortal world and overlook the myriad of living beings there. However, what he wanted the most was the vast immortal path and the company of his loved ones, especially his mother who had no cultivation at all. If he left, he must find a way to take her with him. Previously, although he was cultivating, there was still a deep struggle in his heart, because he had no other way to successfully bring his mother who had no cultivation to the immortal world. But now, because of the appearance of the zodiac carvings, he saw the light. The heavenly art of cosmic genesis was once the supreme cultivation sacred book of the demon world. Even the top demon kings and demon sovereigns of the demon world dreamed of getting it. He cultivated this sacred book of the demon path. In the future, he believed that he would become stronger than before, but the drawback was that even if he broke the shackles of this world, he could only leave by himself and couldn't bring his loved ones with him. But now, even if he cultivated the demon path cultivation method, as long as he could comprehend the heavenly Tao of this world, he could use it for himself. At that time, not to mention that he could easily leave and set foot on the immortal world, he could also bring all his loved ones and all the subordinates that he had trained. Even if he wanted to, it would not be a problem to bring the entire human race on Earth to the immortal world. 2 years, if I can't find the remaining 6 jade carvings within 2 years, then even if Yen, and Ji Chi may have to search every corner of the earth, I must find the remaining jade carvings. As long as they are still on Earth. The next day, Hao Lei followed Tan Xiu's instructions and announced to the public that the 4th jade carving had been found, which was the jade ox of the 12 zodiac carvings. However, because the person who sold the jade ox was unwilling to reveal his identity, the Grand Fortune Jewelry needed to keep it a secret for him. This news, once again, it grew wings. Through the reporters' scramble to report it and countless media's wantonly propaganda, it was once again known to the people of the whole country. Even because of the power of the media, the news that the Grand Fortune Jewelry wanted to buy the zodiac jade carvings with hundreds of millions of US dollars had begun to spread abroad and to various countries. Moreover, the matter was still fermenting. Perhaps it would not take long for it to cause a sensation all over the world. A few days later, Tan Xiu came out of the examination room comfortably. All the subjects had been taken. He was confident that not only could he pass the passing standard, but he could also achieve excellent results. Honk honk, the sound of a car's horn rang from outside the examination building, attracting Tan Xiu's attention. "Handsome, do you want me to give you a ride?" A soft voice, with a bit of a woman's unique sweetness, came from dozens of meters away. Tan Xiu looked over and suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In front of the luxurious supercar worth millions of US dollars, Mu Weining was wearing a very beautiful light blue floral skirt, with her flowing black hair and pink sunglasses. Leaning against the front of the car, she looked at Tan Xiu with a smile. That figure, that appearance, it was like a goddess coming out of a painting. Chapter 859. Tan Xiu's eyes moved away from Mu Weining and looked around. What made him at a loss whether to cry or laugh was that there were many boys and girls around. Even the examinees coming out of the examination building were dazzled by Mu Weining's beauty. "Do you have to be so dazzling, Belle?" Tan Xiu walked forward with a wry smile and shook his head with a sigh. Mu Weining straightened her body and half opened her arms. Her long skirt fluttered and her fragrance filled the air. She then asked with heartfelt laughter, "Don't tell me your girlfriend is dazzling? Isn't that giving you face?" Tan Xiu was attracted by Mu Weining's smile at this moment. Despite his firm mind and being very familiar with Mu Weining, he still felt a strong sense of amazement. After coming back to his senses, he grabbed Mu Weining's smooth wrist and quickly pulled her to the driver's door. He opened the door and pushed her inside. After closing the door, he went to the front seat and sat down, saying, "Let's go." "Give me a reason," said Mu Weining with a smile. Tan Xiu pointed at what she was referring to and grunted, "I'm the only one who can appreciate the most beautiful side of my girlfriend. Other men will feel uncomfortable seeing me. Is this reason good enough?" "Hee hee," Mu Weining giggled again and again. Her bright eyes were so bright that they seemed to be able to drip water. As the car started, she smilingly asked, "Where are we going?" Tan Xiu thought for a while and said, "Since you're dressed up so beautifully today, I'll treat you to a feast. I remember there's a nearby alley selling barbecue skewers. Let's use the sky as our blanket and the ground as our table to enjoy a feast." Pfft, Mu Weining couldn't help but laugh. She rolled her eyes at Tang Xiu with an infinitely charming expression and then said with a smile, "To celebrate the end of your freshman semester, I'll be the one to arrange it today. I'll treat you to a feast. Let's go to Xiulinhua Mansion. Seeing that you're so beautiful and sincere, then let's go to Xiulinhua Mansion." Tan Xiu smilingly said. Ha ha ha, the car and the beauty gradually went away. Countless sorrowful wails came from the onlookers. Some boys even sang Valentine's Day Without a Lover loudly to vent the sadness in their hearts. Embroidered Forest Mansion. It was a famous celebrity kitchen in Shanghai. The guests who were able to enjoy the delicacies here were all rich and respectable people. This place was publicly recognized as the most delicious food in Shanghai, but it was also the most expensive place to squander money. Weining, you seem to be very familiar with this place. Tan Xiu asked in surprise as he followed Mu Weining into the embroidered forest Hua mansion. He watched as she entered the room labeled Emperor's Hall, with familiarity. I've been here twice. Mu Weining chuckled. Tan Xiu smiled and said, rumor has it that the food here is the most expensive place in Shanghai. I didn't expect you to be willing to come here. I've been here twice, but I haven't eaten anything here. Mu Weining shook her head. The first time was to look for my father, and that was a few years ago. The second time was when I came here with my best friend. In the end, my best friend happened to see her boyfriend meeting another woman here. Ha ha ha, I think your best friend's boyfriend must be very miserable, Tan Xiu said with a smile. Why do you say that? Mu Weining was surprised. Is your best friend's temper very good? Tan Xiu smiled. Not very good. She's just a punching bag. Mu Weining forced a smile. Do you know why I'm still willing to follow you until now, Tan Xiu? Even if I'm not the only woman you have. Ugh, Tan Xiu secretly regretted his big mouth, but he could only bite the bullet and ask, why? A trace of hidden bitterness could be seen in Mu Weining's eyes as she said, love for you is the most important. This kind of feeling can't be replaced by other things or things. Then there's the issue of the environment. As a matter of fact, women's status has been getting higher and higher since the reform and opening up. But the fact is that everyone still has the blood of men being superior to women flowing in their veins, including me. There's a saying that, women also occupy half of the sky, but this statement can't be compared to, men are the pillars of the family. Women are weak inside and want to find someone to rely on. This is the crux of the problem. As a matter of fact, I know how much the environment can affect women. For example, Ouyang Lulu and the famous Kang Xia. The circle we are in contact with can't be completely confined by the monogamy system. In Hong Kong, Macau, and even Taiwan, there are many powerful people who have more than one wife. Another example is my dad. He does love my mom deeply, but his love for beauties is ingrained in his veins, causing him to have other women besides my mom. The Ouyang family's patriarch is also Ouyang Lulu's father. He also has more than one woman. Even if Ouyang Lulu's mother is very powerful and I've heard of her name a long time ago, she still can't make Ouyang Lulu's father keep his chastity for her. The bitterness in Mu Weining's mouth turned thicker as she spoke up to there. Tan Xiu took a deep breath as he shook his head and said, if a man loves a woman to the core and can even give up everything for her, he will never fall in love with another woman. Is that so? Mu Weining couldn't help but smile helplessly. Yes, I've seen such a person before, said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. Mu Weining stared blankly and asked in surprise, you've seen him before? Where? Tan Xiu fell into silence. The person he was talking about was himself, even if he had more than one woman now. But he dared to say that if Shui Qingqing hadn't betrayed him in the immortal world, he believed that he would never fall in love with any woman other than Shui Qingqing. They had known each other for thousands of years. He didn't get bored due to the passage of time. Instead, his love for that woman grew stronger and stronger. It was just like a jar of old wine. The longer it was aged, the more mellow and delicious it became. Also, the former immortal Emperor Qing Hun was a paranoid maniac who pursued the path of sentience and eventually died on the path of sentience. He didn't hesitate to fight against the heavens, the samsara of fate, and the life and death struggle for the sake of his beloved. Even if he was suppressed by the heavenly Tao, ravaged by the thunder tribulation, and invaded by the demons in his heart, he ultimately retained that trace of obsession. It was his wife's face, the name he had been calling out for thousands of years. Mu Weining looked at the silent Tan Xiu and felt a faint pain in her heart. She guessed that Tan Xiu once had a true love, though she couldn't guess what kind of form that love existed in. She was very smart. It could be said that she had a sharp mind. From Tan Xiu's words just now, she could even tell that the person Tan Xiu was talking about was himself. In the end, what was it that changed him? Mu Weining wanted to find out the answer, but she didn't dare to delve into it. Knock, knock, someone knocked on the door and pushed it open. Two young and beautiful waitresses stepped into the room and delivered 2 menus. Tan Xiu was pulled back from his memories. He wiped away the trace of pain in his eyes and signaled Mu Weining to order. Delicacies. Good wine. Tan Xiu and Mu Weining tacitly put aside the topic just now and chatted, enjoying the dinner time together. Ring, 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 his cell phone rang. Tan Xiu grabbed the phone and saw that it was a call from Hao Lei. His heart suddenly moved. Several days had passed since the 4 zodiac jade carvings were sent over, yet there was still no news from the other 6 jade carvings. Could it be that Hao Lei was calling him now because there was a happy occasion? What's the matter, Hao Lei? With a bit of killing intent in her tone, Hao Lei said, Boss, we've found the jade rat's whereabouts. But there's a problem in the middle. What problem? Tan Xiu frowned and asked. The person who called me is from overseas, said Hao Lei. He said that he has the jade rat we're looking for and also sent a few photos through the internet. He said that if we want the jade rat in his hands, we must increase the price by at least $500 million. Otherwise, he said that we'll never be able to collect the whole set of the 12 zodiac jade carvings. Agree with him. Tan Xiu replied without hesitation. Boss, this, said Hao Lei quickly. The jade carvings are very important to me, said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. It's related to an earth-shattering event I'm going to do in the future. Promise him that as long as we get the jade rat, we can transfer $500 million to him at any time. All right. Hao Lei replied and then hung up the phone. Mu Weining had never asked Tan Xiu why he wanted to collect the zodiac jade carvings. At this moment, after hearing Tan Xiu's words, she finally asked, It's just a jade carving. Is it worth it for you to spend so much money? It's worth it. Tan Xiu nodded. In my eyes, the value of the zodiac jade carvings can't be measured with money. To be honest, if I can collect the whole set of the 12 zodiac jade carvings in the future, not only will it be of great benefit to me, it will also be of great benefit to you. What benefit? Asked Mu Weining curiously. I can't tell you for the time being. Tan Xiu shook his head. But believe me, you'll know it sooner or later. Ring, 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 Hao Lei called again. When Tan Xiu picked it up, the anger in her tone was even more intense as she loudly said, Boss, the other party has no integrity. I just agreed to buy the jade rat from him for $500 million, but he unexpectedly raised the price. He wants to increase the price by $300 million to $800 million before he's willing to sell it to us. Also, he also has a request that we transfer $300 million to his Swiss bank account in advance. He's courting death. A cold light flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he asked in a deep voice, Can you trace his information? It's very difficult, but it's not impossible, said Hao Lei. Let's prepare for both sides. First, agree to his request. It's not $800 million, but $1 billion, said Tan Xiu. Tell him that I'll give him $1 billion as long as he's willing to sell the jade rat to me. However, tell him to give our store some time. Tell him that we need to raise money, and we can transfer half of the amount to his account within half a month at the latest. Chapter 860. A wise and farsighted look flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he spoke again, Prepare for the second move. Send someone to track the source of the call and be sure to find his location. I'll ask someone else to help track it down later. But as long as he's in the mainland, I hope our people will find him first. Understood. Hao Lei replied concisely and directly hung up the phone. Tan Xiu sat at the dining table. Although his expression was calm, killing intent was surging inside his heart. He didn't like being coerced, nor did he like being played by others. The other party was too greedy, and he secretly decided that as long as he found him, he would absolutely make him regret it. Is it because of the zodiac jade carvings? Mu Weining gently put down her chopsticks and asked curiously. That's right. I already know the whereabouts of the jade rat. Tan Xiu nodded and said, but the other party is too greedy. He raised the price and crossed my bottom line. Mu Weining nodded silently. She knew that Tan Xiu was a very easygoing person. He wouldn't have been so angry if the other party hadn't gone too far. Imperial capital. The city made of steel and concrete was a scene of prosperity. It was located in a residential area outside the South Fifth Ring Road, but it was very special. The entire community was heavily guarded with 4 patrol teams patrolling 24 hours a day. All kinds of monitoring equipment weaved the entire community into a 3-dimensional network, monitoring every corner of the community. At the center of the community, surrounded by nearly 3-meter-high walls, there was only a seemingly ordinary 3-story building inside. For outsiders, this small building was the property office area, but it was full of mystery for the ability users and their families of the Special Abilities Bureau. Only special ability users could enter it. Basement 4. Aquababe was holding a satellite phone and constantly pacing back and forth outside the training room. She had just pressed the doorbell, but there was no answer. Duanmu Lin, who was training inside, didn't come out. What are you doing, Aquababe? Electro Lady leisurely strolled over with a cup of green tea in her hand. However, her complexion was faintly pale and her black training clothes were soaked through. The wet clothes stuck to her body and vividly displayed her voluptuous figure. Tan Xiu called and said he's looking for the chief, said Aquababe with a forced smile. But when I rang the doorbell, I didn't get any answer. Did you forget that our chief likes to wear a headset during training? Electro Lady laughed. If you want him to know that you're looking for him, you have to keep pressing the doorbell. Every 10 minutes, the director will take off his headset. Aquababe was taken aback and quickly nodded. Finally, the heavy metal door slowly opened. Duanmu Lin, who was sweating profusely, wiped his wet hair with a white towel and asked, "What's the matter?" Aquababe hurriedly handed over the satellite phone and said, "Chief, Tan Xiu is calling you. He said that he has something important to ask for your help." Tan Xiu. Duanmu Lin grabbed his phone, found the number on it, and dialed it back. After a few seconds, the call was connected. Tan Xiu, are you looking for me? Senior Duanmu, I have something I need your help with. Speak. Well, it's like this. A strange expression appeared on Duanmu Lin's face during the conversation as he said, "It turns out that you're also the big boss behind the Grand Fortune Jewelry. It turns out that you're also the culprit behind the recent uproar of a treasure hunt worth hundreds of millions of dollars. However, I really want to know what exactly those zodiac jade carvings are. To think that they're worth you spending so much effort to find them." "The zodiac jade carvings are of no use to ordinary people," said Tan Xiu. "They don't have the slightest use even for ability users like you. But for me, they're a big help. You should have heard some things about martial cultivators. For us martial cultivators, the further we cultivate, the more difficult it is. It is really difficult to break through to the next level. Therefore, I need the zodiac jade carvings for me to comprehend the mysteries inside and strive to break through to a higher level as soon as possible." Duanmu Lin suddenly understood and nodded. "I've indeed heard about it. Alright, I promise you. I'll immediately contact the person in charge of the National Intelligence Department. As long as he's in our country, I'm sure I'll be able to find him soon. But if he's really abroad, I'll need to ask my superiors for instructions. I can activate the Skynet foreign intelligence system if I can get an approval. Thank you, Senior Duanmu. I'll be waiting for your news." After thanking him, Tan Xiu directly hung up the phone. Duanmu Lin threw the satellite phone to Aquababe and quickly issued a series of orders. Macau. Inside one of the luxurious suites on the 24th floor of the Conrad Hotel, 5 black-robed old men exuding a gloomy aura were sitting cross-legged in a circle. In the middle of them was a small round table with a diameter of 1 meter. The whole table was scarlet red with a lifelike carving of a jade rat. The inside of the table was like surging magma, exuding a blurred luster. Not far away, on the sofa against the wall, a lazy-looking young man with white hair was holding a crystal glass in his hand, swirling the scarlet red wine inside. On the coffee table in front of him, there were 10 mobile phones. 2 of the phones had their batteries removed, and the SIM cards had also been removed. Will the other party give us $1 billion, young master? A petite and beautiful woman, who looked about 26 or 27 years old, stood neatly beside the white-haired young man. A thoughtful look flashed in her eyes as she asked softly. The zodiac carvings contain enormous energy. I thought there's only one of them in the world, but I didn't expect there to be 12 of them, sneered the white-haired young man. The behind-the-scenes boss of the Grand Fortune Jewelry has probably found the problem inside the zodiac jade carvings, so he's going to such great lengths to find them. I can't guess why he wants to find the whole set of zodiac jade carvings, but I think it's definitely of great use. They can't find all of them, said the petite woman softly. They're trying their best to find them just to prepare for us. What do you plan to do next? Are you going to Demonic City now and snatch the 6 jade carvings they got? The white-haired young man crooked his finger and the petite woman immediately came to him. She then sat on his lap and pressed her head against his thigh. The white-haired young man stroked her soft long hair, but his eyes were particularly indifferent. Now. There's no hurry. They only got 6 jade carvings now. I need to wait for them to find more jade carvings and then snatch them. Then I don't understand. Why do you want money from them? Asked the petite woman. We're not short of money now, are we? The white-haired young man smiled and said, Who says we're not short of money now? I've spent all my capital to equip that mercenary corps. If we can really get $1 billion, we can temporarily solve our financial problem. We can even get our hands on those 2 water defense missiles. Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly, one of the mobile phones rang. The white-haired young man grabbed the mobile phone and looked at the number displayed on it. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he picked it up and smilingly said, What's up? Has General Manager Howe made a decision? $1 billion. Give us some time to prepare. But I seriously doubt that you have no sincerity in cooperating with us at all. Howe Lei's angry voice came out of the phone. No sincerity. The white-haired young man sneered. What does it have to do with you whether I'm sincere or not? I have the jade rat you want in my hand, so you must listen to me. Else, I'll directly put the jade rat away and disappear. I'm afraid you can forget about collecting the 12 zodiac jade carvings for the rest of your life. 3 days. I'll only give you 3 days. If I don't see the money within 3 days, just forget that I've never contacted you. Wait a minute. Howe Lei called out, Our Grand Fortune Jewelry is rich, but we spent a lot of money to buy 2 big jade raw materials some time ago. We don't have that much money now. The 3 days you gave me is too short. I need to find a way to raise the money. I need time. The white-haired young man was silent for a moment and resolutely said, 5 days. I'll give you 2 more days. Don't bargain with me anymore. If you haven't transferred the deposit to my account within 5 days, we'll have no more business with each other. All right. Howe Lei replied and then said, But I don't trust you. So I want to see if the jade rat is what we need. The white-haired young man sneered, Don't worry. Since I want to earn this money, I'll naturally satisfy some of your wishes. Wait for me for 10 minutes. I'll let you see the jade rat through an online video call 10 minutes later. It's a deal. Having said that, Howe Lei directly hung up the phone. Time fleeted by. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Aside from the jade rat, Tan Xiu, who was in Shanghai, still had no news about the other 5 zodiac jade carvings. For the sake of the jade carvings, Tan Xiu gave up the idea of immediately rushing to Longquan Bay in Kanas and quietly waited for the news. In these 2 days, he had declined a lot of invitations from people, as well as a lot of unimportant matters. Except when Hao Lei was not with him, he would put away his mobile phone. Other times, he would glance at it from time to time, hoping to get the information he wanted to know as soon as possible. Ring, ring, ring. Just when Tan Xiu was a bit impatient from waiting, he received a call from Duanmu Lin. After the call was connected, he hurriedly asked, "Senior Duanmu, how's the investigation on your side?" "Macau, Conrad Hotel," said Duanmu Lin. "We haven't found any other information yet, but I believe it won't be long." "Macau." Tan Xiu abruptly got up, quickly put on his coat and rushed outside. Since he had found the hiding place of the other party, he needed to go there himself. Other things were not important at the moment, but the jade rat. "Oh, are there any of our people in Macau?" asked Tan Xiu after leaving the Blue Star Villa complex. "I don't know about that. I need to ask the little boss," said Moo. Chapter 861. After contacting Gu Xiaoxue, Tan Xiu learned that there were indeed people from the Everlasting Feast Hall in Macau. To be precise, it was a branch of the Everlasting Feast Hall that had recently opened in Macau. It was Hu Jiwu. He was the general manager of the Everlasting Feast Hall's branch in Macau and the person in charge of the intelligence network in Macau. He was only in his early 30s, yet he had done several sensational things in the mercenary and assassin world. He looked gentle like a weak scholar, but those who knew him well knew that he was definitely a ruthless and merciless person who killed people like scything flax. "Ah Jean, how's the medicinal herbs issue?" Inside the branch office, Hu Jiwu stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with a solemn expression and asked a young man with his back facing him. The young man looked to be in his late 20s with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks. His eyes gleamed with shrewdness. Upon hearing Hu Jiwu's question, he nodded and said, "I've used all your money to buy medicinal herbs, manager. It's just that the price of precious medicinal herbs is very high nowadays, so the quantity I bought is very small." Hu Jiwu nodded and said, "No matter how many there are, send them to Jingmen Island as soon as possible. The earlier we get the medicinal pills, the earlier we can break through to the mid-stage of Foundation establishment." "Understood." The young man hurriedly nodded and complied. Ring, ring, ring. 2 mobile phones were placed on the table, and one of them suddenly rang. Hu Jiwu stared blankly and his complexion suddenly changed. He had 2 mobile phone numbers. The other one was his private number, and the one that rang was the Everlasting Feast Hall's mission number. Every time this phone rang, it meant that there was an important mission. After the call was connected, Hu Jiwu said in a deep voice, Hu Jiwu speaking. "I'm Tan Xiu." Tan Xiu's voice came out of the phone. Upon hearing the name, Hu Jiwu's expression immediately changed and he respectfully said, "Are you looking for me, boss?" "Yes." "Are you in Macau?" Tan Xiu said. "There's something important I need you to do." "Please tell me, boss." Hu Jiwu respectfully said. Tan Xiu told him the whole story and finally said in a deep voice, "Send some people to closely monitor the Conrad Hotel. Record anyone who comes in and out. If you find any suspicious people, keep a close watch on them. In addition, a group of people from the headquarters in Jingmen Island will rush over at the fastest speed. When the time comes, you will send some people to assist them and monitor all the exit channels in Macau. Once the identity of the other party is determined, lock on the target at the fastest speed and make sure they stay." "Yes, I'll do it right away." Hu Jiwu realized the seriousness of the matter and replied with a solemn expression. After hanging up the phone, he immediately stopped the young man and said in a deep voice, "Ah Jean, let's put aside the medicinal herbs first. There's something important we need to do now." Ah Jean asked, "Was it the big boss who just called you?" Hu Jiwu nodded and said, "That's right. The big boss personally issued the order, so we must do it beautifully. How about this? Gather all the security forces immediately. Macau Island Fort Town Port. A passenger ship slowly docked. After Tang Yunda got off the ship along with the passengers, he saw a middle-aged man on the coast quickly greeting him under the protection of 4 black-clad bodyguards. Anhu. The smile on Tang Yunda's face was very wide. He strode forward and gave the middle-aged man a big hug. This was the second time he saw his former brother after he woke up from his coma. Yunda, you're finally here, said Chen Anhu excitedly. I immediately rushed over after receiving your call, said Tang Yunda with a smile. Don't worry. I'm here to solve the problem. Chen Anhu forced a wry smile and said, Yunda, I'm afraid I really need you to solve it this time. The other party's background is very big. The Zhao family in the imperial capital is behind them, and those experts are from abroad. I really can't handle it anymore. Tang Yunda patted his shoulder and said, I brought a lot of people with me this time. In order not to be noticed by the other party, they have come to Macau through other means. Let's go. I found some suspicious people in the vicinity before I got off the ship. Chen Anhu's expression slightly changed as he nodded and said, let's go. An hour later. Macau, Island Palace Garden, Tangxia District. This was the most luxurious villa area in the entire Macau, and the people who could live here were either rich or respectable. There were a total of 100 villas, covering an enormous area. Each villa was located in an extremely hidden location, and the distance between them and other villas was also very far. On the second floor of Villa A058. Tang Yunda and Chen Anhu were sitting in the study room on the second floor. Both of them didn't look too good. They didn't even have the mood to taste the fragrant tea that filled the room. Anhu, tell us the specific situation. Chen Anhu nodded and said, the one who's going against us this time is the Zhang family of Macau. They're also a wealthy family that controls 60% of the casino in Macau. In the past, the Zhang family has been very low-key, and it can be said that they've made a fortune in a low-key manner. But now it's different. The Zhang family has a favored son of heaven. He's 28 years old this year and has replaced his grandfather as the real helmsman of the Zhang family. Furthermore, the Zhang family's business has been transformed since a few years ago. Now, they're not only involved in the casino business, but also in the real estate, jewelry, and automobile industries. Rumors even say that the Zhang family has several mines in Africa. Tang Yunda squinted his eyes. He recalled his son's ability, so he didn't look down on the favored son of heaven of the Zhang family. However, since the Zhang family was so powerful, this matter was probably not that simple. Perhaps there were some dangerous factors in this trip. Is the Jingzhen Martial School really controlled by the Zhang family? Chen Anhu nodded and said, I've sent some people to investigate it. Not only the Jingzhen Martial School, but also the Black Man Society is also secretly controlled by the Zhang family. The Black Man Society is the largest security company in Macau with nearly 1,000 security guards. Furthermore, the investigation shows that these security guards are not ordinary security guards. Each of them has countless backgrounds. Tang Yunda was silent for a few minutes. As he finished smoking a cigarette, he slowly said, those 2 ports have always been our most profitable business, so cargo transportation is very important. The Zhang family is forcing us to hand over the ports, which is absolutely unacceptable. We'll go see that evildoer of the Zhang family tomorrow. If he's really that strong, I can only ask for external help. Chen Anhu stared blankly and asked with a confused expression, ask for external help? What do you mean? Tang Yunda forced a smile and said, I'm looking for help. Chen Anhu suddenly understood and nodded. If the Tang family comes forward, we can suppress the Zhangs. I believe the Zhangs won't dare to go against your Tang family for the sake of those 2 ports. Tang Yunda shook his head and said, it's not the Tang family. It's my son. Chen Anhu was dumbfounded. He was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh as he said, Brother Yunda, you want to ask your son for help? Are you kidding me? Even if his business in the mainland is very good, he can't extend his hand to Macau, can he? I know my son, said Tang Yunda. Even if we can't solve it, he can easily do it. Chen Anhu shook his head and let out a noncommittal smile. He had heard from Tang Yunda that Tan Xiu had founded the magnificent Tang Corporation with his own ability at a young age. Now, the entire magnificent Tang Corporation had developed rapidly and was catching up with those large domestic enterprises. However, it was likely that the Tang family wouldn't be able to extend their hands to Macau. Tang Xiu alone wouldn't be able to do so. Late at night. In a presidential suite on the 24th floor of the Conrad Hotel, a white-haired young man was sleeping soundly on the big bed with two blonde foreign girls in his arms. In the living room outside the bedroom, 5 black-robed old men were sitting cross-legged around a small round table like old monks in meditation. However, the jade rat on the small round table was nowhere to be seen. Inside the large floor-to-ceiling window, a petite woman was observing the situation near the hotel through a gap in the curtains with binoculars. 10 minutes ago, she had found some suspicious people near the hotel. After 10 minutes of observation, she became more and more certain that those people were very suspicious. Kitty, being too suspicious will make you very tired. If you want to live safely, the most important thing is to have your own strength. If you have the time to observe the outside, you might as well go back to your room and cultivate. A black-robed old man sitting cross-legged suddenly opened his eyes and said. The petite woman turned around, put down the binoculars and said, no matter how strong I am, I can't guarantee young master's safety if I can't detect the danger in time. Besides, you're here. Even if I'm very weak, I can still make you prepare for defense as long as I can detect the danger in advance. The black-robed old man shook his head. The 5 of them had raised this child, so they naturally knew what she was thinking. Even if their young master was fond of beauties and often fooled around, she still put her heart on him. She even stubbornly believed that she could become their young master's woman one day. What a pity. The 5 of them were perfectly aware that unless their young master could become the ruler of the Darkness clan, he must never fall in love with any woman, let alone marry any woman. Go back to your room and rest. The black-robed old man closed his eyes again and slowly said. The petite woman shook her head and said, there's a situation near the hotel. I must monitor it. The black-robed old man opened his eyes again and said with a frown, you said there's a situation near the hotel? What situation? The petite woman said, 10 minutes ago, I used the binoculars to observe and found a few suspicious people. After 10 minutes of observation, I found at least 6 people near the hotel without any target or anything. They are like intelligence agents, monitoring everyone going in and out of the hotel. One of them was even hiding in the car, as if he was recording something. The black-robed old man floated up and quickly came to the window, looking outside through the curtain gap. His eyes flickered as he calmly observed for a few minutes. Then, he indifferently said, go wake up the young master. We'll move immediately. The petite woman whispered, young master hates it when people disturb him while he's sleeping. Besides, those people's target may not be us. Why don't we wait and see? Chapter 862. The black-robed old man shook his head indifferently and said, we just arrived in Macau and don't know much about the situation here. Many powerful characters have emerged here ever since Macau returned to China. Hence, we must eliminate any dangerous factors. We must evacuate. The petite woman thought for a while and nodded. She then came to the master bedroom's door and knocked on it. We need to move now, young master. In the bedroom. The white-haired youth opened his eyes, and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. He immediately got off the bed and put on his clothes. He didn't even look at the 2 blonde beauties who were still sleeping like dead pigs. After opening the door and walking out, he asked, what happened? Why did you move so late at night? There are some suspicious people near this hotel, said the petite woman. We haven't figured out their purpose yet, but we'd better move to a safer place immediately to prevent any accidents. I'll immediately contact the people at safety station number 2 to greet you as long as you agree. A chilling light flashed in the white-haired youth's eyes and he asked in a deep voice, "Do you suspect that those suspicious people are from the Grand Fortune Jewelry?" "If their target is not us, then they shouldn't be from the Grand Fortune Jewelry," said the petite woman. "But if they're monitoring us, then apart from the Grand Fortune Jewelry's people, there's only your brother's people." The white-haired youth snorted coldly and said, "It's impossible for the Grand Fortune Jewelry to have such a powerful intelligence network. They can lock our position just by relying on my phone calls. It seems that my good big brother is really eager to make trouble. Let's go and leave this place." A few minutes later, a group of 7 people left the hotel. They didn't leave through the normal passage but quietly jumped from a secret corner of the hotel and disappeared into the garden behind. Half a minute after they left, a ghostly figure silently appeared and chased in the direction they had left. Huh! Just half a minute later, the ghostly figure suddenly stopped at the edge of the garden. To be precise, it was blocked by a black mist that was spreading toward the surroundings. Someone from the Dark Shaman clan. Behind the towering tree, Hu Zhiwu's eyes flashed with dread. He didn't continue to chase because he was well aware of the effect of the black mist in front of him. He was afraid that he would get lost inside even if he rushed into the black mist now. However, he could not give up the task given by his boss. Hu Zhiwu took out his phone, opened a communication app, and quickly issued an order. "Ah Jin, Etong, the enemy has escaped from the hotel and is fleeing in your direction. Keep an eye on them. They are from the Dark Shaman clan. I'll catch up with them immediately. Remember, keep in touch with me and tell me where you are." "All right." A simple reply came. Hu Zhiwu hung up the phone and dialed Tan Xiu's cell number. The call was quickly connected. Before Tan Xiu could speak, Hu Zhiwu immediately said, "Boss, I have a new situation to report." "Speak." Tan Xiu's voice came from the phone. "We've been monitoring the Conrad Hotel as per your order," said Hu Zhiwu. "But a few minutes ago, a group of 7 people secretly left from the back of the hotel. After I discovered them, I was tracking them, but I was blocked by a black fog. I suspect they're from the Dark Shaman clan." "What kind of clan is the Dark Shaman clan?" asked Tan Xiu. "There's some information about the Dark Shaman clan in our Everlasting Feast Hall's archives," said Hu Zhiwu. "This clan is based in Tea Country, but they have their own forces in Southeast Asia. The Dark Shaman clan is also known as a witchcraft clan. It's somewhat similar to the dark witchcraft in Europe, but it's not exactly the same. Among them, the sorcerer in Southeast Asia is a branch of the Dark Shaman clan." "Is this Dark Shaman clan very powerful?" asked Tan Xiu in a deep voice. "Decades ago, this Dark Shaman clan was indeed very powerful, with a large number of people proficient in witchcraft," said Hu Zhiwu. "But at the peak of their clan's power, they provoked a powerful enemy, the second largest organization in the world, the Crusader Consortium. That's why a world-shaking war broke out between them. In the end, the Crusader Consortium won, and the Dark Shaman clan was almost slaughtered. After decades, the Dark Shaman clan should have recovered some of its strength, but it's no longer as glorious as it was in the past." "I got it," Tan Xiu lightly said. "Continue to track them and never lose them. I'll arrive in Macau in 2 hours at most." "Understood," replied Hu Zhiwu respectfully with a solemn expression. 2 hours later, Tan Xiu led Mo Ao and the others to Macau. Just as they disembarked from the passenger ship, 2 stalwart men came to greet them. "Boss." The 2 men saluted respectfully. "How's the situation?" Tan Xiu nodded and asked. "Where are the Dark Shaman people now?" One of them answered, "They're in a farmhouse in Donglong Slope. Captain Hu has taken some men to seal off the place and is waiting for you, boss." "Let's go," said Tan Xiu. Donglong Slope, Fishing Village Farmhouse. Inside a dimly lit house, a white-haired youth's face was frosty and his eyes gleamed with hostility. Behind him, apart from the 5 silent black-robed old men, there was only the petite woman. Creak, the door was pushed open and a skinny middle-aged man entered. He quickly closed the door from the inside and reported in a low voice, "Young master, it has been confirmed that the other party has a total of 6 people scattered around the farmhouse. But... I don't like people who stutter. Continue." The white-haired youth coldly snorted. "Understood." The skinny middle-aged man said, "But I suspect that the other party has more than 6 people. Further, I can tell from their movements that they are experts, at least not worse than ordinary martial arts grandmasters." The white-haired youth's pupils shrunk and he incredulously said, 6 experts who are not worse than martial arts grandmasters. Is this the number on the surface? The skinny middle-aged man nodded and said, "That's right. They are very fast and very vigilant. I deliberately sent some people to patrol outside, but they can easily avoid them. When the patrols I sent out leave, they will silently appear again." The white-haired youth clenched his fists and said in a heavy tone, "My good big brother really thinks highly of me." He didn't hesitate to pay such a huge price to find so many experts just for the true witchcraft scripture and the heritage pearl in my hands. However, it's just that he didn't expect me to impart the true solution of witchcraft to all of you 8 years ago, causing your strength to increase greatly. Not to mention 6 martial Tao masters, even if there were 60 of them, they would be able to kill all of them here. The petite woman quickly asked, "Young master, what should we do next? Go out and kill them now? Or?" The white-haired youth was silent for more than 10 seconds. As the killing intent in his eyes slowly faded away, he shook his head and said, "Now is not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality with him. I need to make a deal with the Grand Fortune jewelry first. At the very least, he had to get the first sum of money first before dealing with these people. Come on, let's leave this place and go to the 3rd safety station." The skinny middle-aged man hurriedly asked, "Young master, what about the people outside?" The white-haired young man narrowed his eyes and sized him up before asking, "Do the people you've trained outside know about your identity?" The skinny middle-aged man shook his head and said, "They don't know." The white-haired youth said coldly, "Since they don't know, then let them stay here to attract the attention of those people. Keep in mind that I gave you your life, so you must be absolutely loyal to me. You know the consequences if you lie to me on this matter. I can assure you that those people I've trained outside really don't know my true identity," said the skinny middle-aged man hurriedly. "They're just tools I've trained to amass wealth." The white-haired youth nodded and said, "Lead the way." "Please follow me, young master," said the skinny middle-aged man hurriedly. Shortly after, they passed through 2 secret doors inside under the guidance of the skinny middle-aged man and entered a room with sundries. A pair of scissors in the pile of sundries was slowly turned and a hole suddenly appeared on the dirty and messy wall. As time passed by, the hole became bigger and eventually formed a door. "Young master, go down the rope. There's an underground passage 5 meters down there. We can leave the Nongjia house through this underground passage and appear on the side of the underground river nearby," said the skinny middle-aged man in a low voice. "Let's go." The white-haired youth made a gesture to the petite woman, who immediately grabbed the rope and quickly went down. In just a short while, all 8 of them went down. The cracked wall also slowly closed after they all went down. It was impossible to see any clues from the outside. At the periphery of the Agricola, Hu Jiwu never thought that there would be an underground passage here. He had brought more than a dozen experts of the everlasting feast hall, yet none of them had left. Time fleeted by. When 4 black SUVs came from a distance and stopped at the entrance of the Agricola, dozens of stalwart men rushed out of the manor. Each and every one of them looked extremely fierce with knives and sticks in their hands. The burly man, who was the leader, glared at Tang Xiu and the others who came down from the car like a tiger watching its prey. "Boss!" Hu Jiwu, along with Ah Jin, appeared in front of Tan Xiu and respectfully greeted him. "Where are they, asked Tan Xiu. Are they inside? Hu Jiwu asked. We tracked them all the way here. The group of 7 people entered a row of houses inside the Agricola. We've guarded the entire Agricola, but they haven't left yet. Tan Xiu nodded in response. He then looked at the leader of the stalwart men and said in a deep voice, "Go tell the people inside to come out." The stalwart man vigilantly looked at Tan Xiu and the others and asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? I don't know what you mean." Chapter 863. There's no need to hide anymore. Tan Xiu sneered. The Dark Shaman clan was once glorious, so there's no need for you to hide in a mouse hole now, is there? Go inform the people inside and tell them to come out. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing them. The stalwart man frowned and turned to speak to a middle-aged man behind him. As the middle-aged man quickly ran inside, the stalwart man turned around and indifferently said, "I don't know what you mean, but this is our Agricola's place to do business. Not just anyone can come here and make trouble." Humph. Tan Xiu snorted coldly and waved his hand to quickly disperse Mo Au and the others, surrounding the entire Agricola more tightly. He didn't rush to act and just waited quietly. A few minutes later, the middle-aged man who just left ran out with a flustered expression. He quickly came to the stalwart man and said, "There's no one inside, brother." What? The stalwart man was stunned and disbelief was written all over his face. He hurriedly asked, "You said there's no one inside? What about our boss? What about the guests?" "I don't know, but there's really no one inside." The middle-aged man shook his head. Not far away, Tan Xiu's expression changed. He strode forward and shouted in a deep voice, "Capture them." Immediately, a few lightning-like figures quickly pounced on them. They were extremely fast, and their attacks were ruthless. In just a few seconds, dozens of big men were all knocked to the ground. There were even a few strong men who were struggling to get up, but they were instantly crippled. Tan Xiu's face was gloomy and his spiritual sense instantly covered the entire Agricola. What made him angry was that there was no one else inside. Hu Jiwu. Disbelief flashed in Hu Jiwu's eyes as he quickly ran to Tan Xiu and said, "What's your order, boss?" "Where are they?" shouted Tan Xiu coldly. "Where are the people I asked you to watch over?" Hu Jiwu hurriedly said, "Boss, they are definitely still inside. I can guarantee that no one has left since we arrived." Ah Jin, who had followed him, also said quickly, "Boss, what Captain Hu said is true. We have guarded the entire Nongjia. Even if they can fly over eaves and walk on walls, they can't escape from our eyes, let alone all the roads." Tan Xiu frowned. According to them, those people were still in the farmhouse. However, when he used his divine sense to scan the area, apart from the dozens of men who had lost their ability to resist, there was no one else. Could it be that there was an underground secret chamber in this farmhouse? Thinking of this, Tan Xiu released his soul sense again. Even the corners of the houses and even the gaps of each room were carefully searched by him. Finally, his soul sense found a problem in one of the storerooms. In fact, when his divine sense entered it, a bad feeling arose in his heart. A moment later, Tan Xiu appeared in the storeroom. With a fierce punch, a hole was blasted in the wall. "It's empty down there, boss. There's a rope inside." Mo Au poked his head inside and observed for a moment before he turned around and hurriedly reported. Tan Xiu nodded slightly and made the hole bigger until he could drill through it. He then grabbed the rope with both hands and quickly went down. Then, he quickly moved forward along the underground passage in front of him. His soul sense scanned the underground passage and didn't find any danger in it. Light? It's not an underground secret chamber, but an underground passage. Did the Dark Shaman clansmen leave through this underground passage? No wonder Hu Jiwu and the others didn't notice their escape in advance. But how could there be an underground passage in this small farmhouse? Is this one of the Dark Shaman clan's secret strongholds? He drilled out of the hole. Tan Xiao looked at the underground river in front of him. The space here was very large and the river was not very wide, but the current was very turbulent. There was even a faint starlight shining through a crack in the soil. The exit is in front, boss. This underground river is very short, only about a kilometer. It's connected to the entrance of a large river outside. Mo All went to the front to investigate and quickly came back to report. At this moment, Hu Jiwu, who was following Tan Xiao, had a bitter expression on his face. He never expected that this small farmhouse would have an underground secret passage. He originally thought that the other party wouldn't be able to escape even if they had wings, but he didn't expect that the other party had already slipped away. I was wrong, boss. Hu Jiwu felt sullen inside. This was, after all, the first time his big boss put him in charge of something, yet he screwed it up. It's not your fault. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, who would have thought that there would be an underground secret passage here? If it were me, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to keep an eye on them. Don't blame yourself. As long as they're still in Macau, we can still find them. Let's go. Arrange a place for us to stay first, and then spread out your men. Understood. The sullen feeling inside Hu Jiwu's heart turned more intense. If Tang Xiao were to blame him or even punish him, he might feel better inside. The next morning, Tan Xiao woke up from his sleep and looked at the time. It was already 7:30 a.m. After washing up, he took out his mobile and dialed his father, Tang Yunda's cell number. Hey, Xiao. Why did you suddenly call me? Is something the matter? Tang Yunda's surprised voice came from the phone. I'm afraid I need your help with something, Dad, said Tan Xiao. Tang Yunda couldn't help laughing and said, I have something I need your help with. I didn't expect that you would call me first to ask for help. Tell me, what is it that even you can't handle? Tan Xiao stared blankly and asked with a puzzled expression, you also need my help. What is it? You tell me first. Tang Guosheng said with a smile. It's like this. I'm now in Macau to track some people's traces, said Tan Xiao. Don't you have an acquaintance here? So I want you to contact him and provide us with some help in Macau. Tang Guosheng was surprised, you're in Macau. Where? Tang Guosheng was silent for a moment and then asked, the Sheraton Hotel. Tang Guosheng was silent for a moment and then asked, tell me your room number. Tan Xiao didn't understand why his father wanted to ask him for a room number, but he quickly told him. Then, the phone was hung up. What's going on? Tan Xiao stared blankly and stared at the mobile screen for a long time without reacting. A few minutes later, someone knocked on the door. Inside the living room, Tan Xiao, who was hesitating whether he should call again, looked up at the direction of the door and then gestured to his father. To his surprise, when he opened the door, it turned out to be his father, Tang Yunda, who came in. Dad, why are you here? Asked Tan Xiao incredulously. Didn't I just tell you on the phone? Tang Yunda said with a smile. I still have something I want to ask you for help with. It's about the matter in Macau. I didn't expect that you would also come here. Tell me, who are the people you want to track? What's their origin? We haven't figured out their real identity yet, but they should be people from the Dark Shaman clan in Tea Country, said Tan Xiao. That's right, my men took a picture of them last night. The photos will be sent to you soon. It shouldn't be a problem to find them as long as they have the photos. Tang Yunda nodded. They're not ordinary people, Dad, said Tan Xiao cautiously. I know about the Dark Shaman clan and know that they have witchcraft heritage. They're a very mysterious and special kind of people. You must warn them when you send someone to look for them. Don't act rashly and alert them. Otherwise, I'm afraid they'll lose their lives if they take action. How did you provoke such people, Xiao? Asked Tang Yunda with a frown. I didn't provoke them, but they provoked me, said Tan Xiao. Have you heard about the sky-high treasure hunt in our country? Tang Yunda nodded and said, I heard about it. I don't know which prodigal son is looking for a complete set of zodiac jade carvings. The price of each jade carving is 100 million US dollars. If all 10 zodiac jade carvings are found, it's worth 1 billion US dollars. Even if he's rich, he can't waste it like this. Suddenly, Tang Yunda's words came to an abrupt halt. He looked at his son, Tan Xiu, who suddenly had an awkward expression. Disbelief rose inside him as he asked, Xiu, you're not that prodigal son, are you? Cough, cough, Tan Xiu nearly spurted out a mouthful of blood. He let out a hollow laugh and said, I'm indeed that prodigal son, Dad. Tang Yunda was dumbfounded. He never expected that the person who caused such a big storm and was such a prodigal son turned out to be his precious son. Dad, there's actually an important reason why I spent so much money to find the zodiac jade carvings. Tan Xiu let out a hollow laugh. You know I'm a cultivator, and the zodiac jade carvings are the most precious treasures in my eyes. They're related to a big plan of mine in the future. They'll even be of great help to my cultivation. In the eyes of cultivators, what they want the most is immortal fate. And the whole set of zodiac jade carvings is my immortal fate. Tang Yunda felt relieved. He was also a bit embarrassed after hearing his son's explanation. But as a father, he didn't want to lose face in front of his son. He hurriedly changed the topic and said, Forget it. Let's not talk about this. I know about your matter, and I'll arrange it later after I get the photos. You must also pay attention to me when it's my turn. This is related to my business with hundreds of millions of dividends every year. Please say it, Dad. Tan Xiu said with a straight face. Tang Yunda thought for a while and suddenly said, Forget it. I'll solve it myself first. If I can't solve it in the end, I'll let you find another way. Your matter is more important, so you should solve your own matter first. All right. Tan Xiu nodded and said, Since you don't want to tell me now, then I won't be in a hurry to ask. That jade rat is indeed very important to me. I must find it no matter how much it costs and no matter how difficult it is. If you need me, just tell me at any time. Chapter 864. The famous commercial street, Shirpan, was located in the northern Bay Area of Macau. It was a paradise for shoppers and was close to the coastal expressway. Tourists who were familiar with Macau knew that this was a must-visit place. Cool, huh? Bro, do you feel cool? Yukai drove an Audi sedan and sped on the coastal expressway at lightning speed. With a carefree expression on his face, he shouted loudly to Hu Qingsong in the front passenger seat along with the loud music in the car. Hu Qingsong's eyes fell on the beach not far away, watching a group of gorgeously dressed women in bikinis. His eyes seemed to have turned into a 200-degree light bulb. In particular, several speedboats in the distant sea gave him the impulse to drive them across the sea. Cool. That's freaking cool. Yukai burst into laughter and shouted, Just you wait. Bro, I'll take you to the beach to have some fun. I know a place with a lot of beautiful girls. We can make them treat us like big shots as long as we're willing to spend some money. Ugh, Hu Qingsong's expression suddenly froze. He turned to look at Yukai, who had a carefree smile on his face, and helplessly said, How can we have money? God damn it. I wouldn't have gambled with those bastards at the casino yesterday if I knew there was such a good place. That's 100,000 yuan. I've worked so hard to save 100,000 yuan, yet I've spent more than 80,000 yuan there. It's not even enough to pay for next semester's tuition fees and living expenses. Yukai patted the steering wheel and indifferently said, It's all right. I've got plenty of money. If worst comes to worst, I'll go back and ask my old man for money. I'll sell the car if he doesn't give it to me. It's not easy for us to have a vacation, and we've come to the colorful world of Macau. How can we face ourselves if we don't have some fun? That's true. Hu Qingsong put away his gloomy mood and urged, hurry up. I can't wait to hit on some pretty girls. Pervert. Same to you. Ha ha ha. On Shirpan Street, inside a 20-story building, a white-haired youth looked gloomily at the seascape outside with killing intent flashing in his eyes. Young master, the news just came. Eldest young master had a conflict with Ah Luo, the taming headmaster. Eldest young master suffered a loss. Moreover, both sides have been secretly competing recently. Eldest young master's men haven't left country tea. The petite woman handed a stack of documents to the white-haired young man. The white-haired youth frowned and quickly looked through it. His eyes revealed a confused look as he muttered to himself, if those people are not Big Brother's people, then who are they? The petite woman's expression shifted and she suddenly said, young master, could it be someone from the Grand Fortune Jewelry? The white-haired youth turned his head and sneered, do you think a jewelry company can have a group of powerful experts? The petite woman said, everything is possible. Even if it wasn't someone from the Grand Fortune Jewelry, it could be someone else hired by them. Young master, we've investigated the Grand Fortune Jewelry before. The assets of the entire Grand Fortune Jewelry should be less than 10 billion, right? But where did they get the money to buy so many zodiac jade carvings? If they buy all 10 zodiac jade carvings, the amount they need to spend should be almost the same as the total assets of the Grand Fortune Jewelry, no? The white-haired youth's expression slightly changed and he said in a deep voice, you mean, the Grand Fortune Jewelry is hiding some secret? Or is it not the Grand Fortune Jewelry who bought the zodiac jade carvings this time? Or is it someone else? I think so, said the petite woman, else Grand Fortune Jewelry wouldn't have taken out all its wealth just to buy those 10 jade carvings. Maybe someone entrusted the Grand Fortune Jewelry to buy them, which means the real buyer is someone else. The white-haired youth finally became vigilant. If that was the case, then he would be in big trouble. After all, the person who could take out $1 billion to buy the zodiac jade carvings must have a very deep background. At this moment, one of the 5 black-robed old men sitting cross-legged on the ground suddenly floated up and came to the white-haired youth's side, saying, there's something I need to remind you about, young master. The white-haired youth frowned and asked, what is it? Huaxia has a long history and has countless terrifying forces, said the black-robed old man. People in the Western world think that China is very mysterious, but I know a lot about it. We can't provoke some forces in China unless it's a last resort, else it'll be very troublesome. Be more specific, said the white-haired youth. Many families in China are very powerful, and some of them have been passed down for a long time with unfathomable heritage, said the black-robed old man. Furthermore, China has always advocated martial arts, and the number of people who practice martial arts is like the carps crossing the river. Also, as far as I know, there are many sects and schools in China, among which the most mysterious and terrifying are the cultivators. The Crusades and the Western Dark World's invasion were eventually defeated by the secluded cultivators of China. Cultivators? The white-haired youth had heard that such people existed in China, but he thought it was just a legend. He didn't expect that they really existed. That's right. They're cultivators, said the black-robed old man. You should know the top 3 organizations in the world. But very few people from those 3 organizations dare to set foot in China. On one hand, there are many ability users in China's Special Abilities Bureau, and on the other hand, they are afraid of the cultivators of China. It can be said that China has many crouching tigers and hidden dragons, with countless powerhouses. The white-haired youth squinted his eyes and coldly asked, you mean, the people looking for the zodiac jade carvings are likely to be cultivators of China? There's a terrifying energy inside the jade rat, said the black-robed old man. We've always tried our best, but we can only barely absorb a little bit of it. Perhaps the existence of the zodiac jade carvings was discovered by the cultivators of China, so they spent a lot of money to look for them everywhere. No wonder those people could easily find our hotel yesterday, snorted the white-haired youth coldly. No wonder they could follow us all the way to the number 2 safety station. Money is a good thing, but if they're really cultivators of China, we can only forget about the deal and return to tea country. The black-robed old man shook his head and said, if they're really cultivators, they'll find us even if we leave. I'm sure our photos are already in their hands. The white-haired youth opened his mouth and was about to speak, but the petite woman beside him suddenly had a slight change in expression and quickly said, I'm afraid we're in trouble, young master. What's the situation? Asked the white-haired youth. The petite woman pointed to the ground outside the French window and quickly said, I saw the same group of people pass by here 3 times in 2 hours. It's obvious that they're looking for someone. These people are not the ones who monitored and followed us yesterday. They look like ordinary people, but they're likely to be the ones looking for us. That's impossible. The white-haired youth coldly snorted. Even if those people are very powerful in China, they can't stretch their hands to Macau, can they? No, it's very easy. The petite woman shook her head. Now, Macau is also part of China's territory. The white-haired youth thought for a while and quickly took out a mobile phone and dialed Hao Lei's number. However, a male voice came out of the phone after the call was connected. I'm glad you called me again. The white-haired youth's expression slightly changed and asked in a deep voice, who are you? It doesn't matter who I am. Tan Xiu smilingly said, what's important is that your dark shaman clan is really bold and greedy. To be honest, you should be glad that there aren't many of my men operating in Macau for the time being, and it's not my territory either. Otherwise, you would have already knelt in front of me and begged for mercy. The white-haired youth's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect that the other party knew his true identity. Who the hell are you? Don't worry. You want to play a game of cat and mouse with me, then I'll accompany you to the end, said Tan Xiu. The Dark Shaman Clan, huh? Hee, I can tell you responsibly that this clan will no longer exist in Tea Country until this evening at the latest. You poor wretches who hide your heads and tails can only flee to the ends of the world like stray dogs. Of course, the premise is that you can escape my layout in Macau and the eyes I've sent out. The white-haired youth's pupils shrunk and he shouted in a deep voice, you're a Chinese cultivator. You guessed it right. It's a pity that there's no reward for you, though, said Tan Xiu smilingly. Good luck and try to survive until this time tomorrow. Having said that, the call was hung up. The white-haired youth's expression turned extremely unsightly as he listened to the busy tone coming from the phone. He never dreamed that he would really provoke a Chinese cultivator. He didn't expect that the other party would be so arrogant that he dared to hang up the phone without getting the jade rat. Suddenly, the white-haired youth realized something and turned to look at the petite woman. He hurriedly said, contact the people from Tea Country's Aviation Administration and the Oceanic Administration. Find out for me whether any strangers from China have entered Tea Country's territory from yesterday to today. Understood. The petite woman replied and walked to the side to dial the phone. Half an hour later, the petite woman received a call. After talking for half a minute, she hung up the phone and came to the white-haired youth's side. She then said, our people have found out that a tourist group from Jingmen Island arrived in Tea Country 3 hours ago. They said that those people are very strange. They don't look like ordinary tourists, but more like soldiers or bodyguards. Also, some people in Tea Country were secretly monitoring them, but they didn't track them for long before they lost track of them. The white-haired youth trembled and hurriedly asked, how many people did they have? Not many, only about 20 people, answered the petite woman. More than 20 people. Chapter 865. The white-haired youth's heart calmed down a bit. Although the Dark Shaman clan had fewer members than before, they still had hundreds of members. Most of them were proficient in black witchcraft, and even ordinary special forces soldiers posed no threat to them. However, for the sake of safety, the white-haired youth dialed the number again. This time, the phone rang for quite a while before it was picked up. Shall we talk, sir? Do you think there's a need to talk now? Tan Xiu chuckled. More than 20 cultivators under me have arrived in Tea Country. Perhaps they'll appear in your dark shaman clan's territory in a few hours. Or perhaps, your clan will be littered with corpses and rivers of blood a few hours later. That's right, there's something I need to tell you. If you're in the Golden North building, you can take a look down there. The white-haired youth looked down the building. What shocked him was that there were 4 black SUVs parked outside the building's entrance and 12 strong men standing in front of them. One of them, a handsome youth, was holding a mobile phone and waving in the direction of the building. How did you find us? The white-haired youth's voice was a bit trembling. There's something I forgot to tell you last time, Tan Xiu chuckled. I'm not only a cultivator, but also a member of China's special department. I only need to make a phone call and the entire intelligence network of China will be at my disposal. Macau is China's territory, so it's natural that I can easily find out where you're calling from. Damn it! The white-haired youth cursed and was ready to immediately hang up the phone and flee. Don't be in such a hurry to hang up the phone, said Tan Xiu. If I were you, I wouldn't be thinking about how to escape, but how to survive. Trust me, I have the ability to spend $1 or $2 billion on the zodiac jade carvings, so I have the ability to spend another $10 or $20 billion to put a bounty on the Dark Shaman clan's members all over the world, including you. Do you think there'll be a safe place for you to hide on Earth if I spend tens of billions of dollars? If you're really Chinese cultivators, then you do have the ability to exterminate all the Dark Shaman clansmen, said the white-haired youth in a deep voice. But I can also tell you that you'll never find the Jade Rat if you dare to touch any member of our Dark Shaman clan. Finished. He directly hung up the phone and took out the Jade Rat. He handed it to the petite woman and said in a deep voice, "Take it and try to escape from Macau. Remember to go to the next place and wait for me. If I die here, throw the Jade Rat into the Pacific Ocean." "Young master, I'm not leaving," the petite girl cried out hurriedly. "If you don't want me to die, you must do as I say. The other party wants the Jade Rat. As long as the Jade Rat is still in our hands, he won't dare to kill me. Hurry up and think of a way to leave this place. Try to avoid the other party's people." The petite woman bit her lower lip with her white teeth, nodded heavily, and rushed out of the room. In the entire Dark Shaman clan, this petite woman was undoubtedly the best in terms of concealment ability. She was also the only person in the clan who had thoroughly comprehended the dark domain. However, she met Tan Xiu, an evildoer who could cover hundreds of square meters with his spiritual sense. Along with flashing afterimages, Tan Xiu stopped the petite woman in the corridor on the 4th floor of the building. "You won't be able to escape even if you have wings." Tan Xiu folded his arms and smilingly looked at the petite woman. A disdainful look flashed in the petite woman's eyes. Along with the release of her surging dark force, the tens of meters-long corridor was immediately shrouded in a thick black mist. She then bolted lightning fast toward the nearest guest room. "Wanna escape?" Along with a sneer, the petite woman had just rushed to the window when an iron pincer-like hand grabbed the back of her neck. The disdainful look on her face froze in an instant. Tan Xiu put his hand into her bosom and took out the red and lifelike Jade Rat. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he squeezed her neck and walked outside. A few minutes later, BAM, as the door was kicked open, the white-haired youth, the 5 black-robed old men, and the middle-aged man who used to manage the second security station all had their complexions greatly changed. After entering the room with Mo and the others, Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and glanced at the 6 people in the room. He then casually threw the petite woman in front of the sofa and sat down with one foot on her back. He then looked at the white-haired youth and said, "I've sent those who have threatened me to hell. You dare to threaten me with the Jade Rat? You're really courting death." The white-haired youth's complexion turned ghastly pale. He looked at Tan Xiu and the others, and for the first time, a strong sense of regret was born in his heart. He was well aware of the petite woman's means of escape, yet she failed to escape and was captured by the other party. This showed that the other party was absolutely terrifying to the point that he had to look up to them. The white-haired youth took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, I still have the capital to talk to you. Tan Xiu grinned and said, your words have piqued my interest. Tell me, what capital do you have to escape death? The Jade Pig, said the white-haired youth in a deep voice. I know the whereabouts of the Jade Pig. The Jade Pig? Tan Xiu's expression slightly changed. His eyes turned into sharp arrows that pierced the white-haired youth's eyes. The white-haired youth subconsciously closed his eyes. Tell me, where's the Jade Pig? Asked Tan Xiu in a deep voice. The white-haired youth opened his eyes again and said with a solemn expression, I'll tell you where the Jade Pig is as long as the enmity between us is written off. I'll give you the Jade Rat, and I'll buy the lives of most of the Dark Shaman clan's members for the Jade Pig. Tan Xiu raised his brows and said, you only need to buy the lives of most of your clan members. You want to use me? I'm not using you. The white-haired youth shook his head. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and slowly said, your lives are worthless in my eyes. All I want is the zodiac jade carvings. To tell you the truth, I would have bought it for $100 million if it weren't for your greed. Alright, tell me the whereabouts of the Jade Pig. I can spare the lives of most of your Dark Shaman clan's members as long as the information you told me is true, including yours. The white-haired youth slightly calmed down and said, the Jade Pig is in the hands of my big brother. My original plan was to seize the Jade Pig after I took complete control of the Dark Shaman clan. I didn't expect that. You failed to deceive me and lost the Jade Rat instead? Asked Tan Xiu. That's right. The white-haired youth nodded bitterly. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and slowly asked, you know that the zodiac jade carvings are good stuff? The white-haired youth nodded and said, it's a good thing indeed. It contains a huge amount of energy. Our Dark Shaman clan can absorb the energy inside to enhance our strength. What? Tan Xiu stared blankly and looked incredulous. He had yet to figure out how to absorb the energy inside the zodiac jade carvings. Yet, the Dark Shaman clan could do it. He fell into silence. He instantly made up his mind that he must obtain the ability of the Dark Shaman clan no matter what. If he could absorb the energy inside the zodiac jade carvings and use it to enhance his own strength, his cultivation would probably skyrocket. Tell me the method to absorb the energy inside the jade carvings and I'll help you get rid of your big brother and his men. Also, I can give you the $1 billion you need, said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. The white-haired youth was startled and immediately made a gesture to a black-robed old man. The black-robed old man understood tacitly and took out a book from his sleeve pocket. He handed it to Tan Xiu and said, this is the devouring witchcraft art passed down by our Dark Shaman clan's ancestors. The method to absorb the energy inside the Jade Rat is written in it. Tan Xiu took the book and kicked the petite woman away. He then spent 2 hours carefully reading the entire book. I got it. Suppressing his excitement, Tan Xiu turned to look at Mo All and said, contact Hao Lei and tell her to transfer $1 billion to this brat. Also, inform those who have sneaked into Tea Country not to attack the Dark Shaman clan for the time being and wait for my new instructions. Understood. Mo All immediately nodded. Tan Xiu shifted to the white-haired youth and then pointed to the sofa in front of him, asking, what's your name? Singluan, answered the white-haired youth. That's a good name. What's your status in your clan? Asked Tan Xiu with a light smile. My father is the Dark Shaman clan's elder, and I'm the clan's second young master, answered the white-haired youth. I was going to kill you, but you not only provided me the whereabouts of the Jade Pig, but also told me the method to absorb the energy inside the zodiac jade carvings, so I made an exception and changed my mind, said Tan Xiu. Now, tell me about your big brother and the people you want to get rid of. My big brother's name is Singquo, said Singluan hurriedly. I'll immediately send you the specific information. I don't want $1 billion as long as you can get rid of my big brother and his men. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I didn't get rid of your big brother to be used by you, but for the sake of that Jade Pig. I'll send someone to transfer $1 billion to your account, but you must take me to T country immediately. We can talk about anything as long as we get the jade pig. But you know the consequences if you can't get it. I know, replied Singluan respectfully. Tan Xiao nodded and was about to speak when Jin Shi came in from the outside. He quickly leaned to Tan Xiao's ear and whispered, "Your father is looking for you, boss." Tan Xiao's brows raised. He recalled that his mobile phone was inside his interspatial ring and couldn't receive any signal. He immediately went out of the room and took Jin Shi's mobile phone, saying, "Dad, are you looking for me?" Tang Yunda's voice came from the phone, "I'm afraid I'll have to rely on your help here, Xiao. Also, it's best for you to come here if it's convenient for you. I'm afraid some accidents might happen." You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.